All right, welcome on in to another episode, the first episode of the week of DCU Daily and Also Curious. We have got, as always, a ton to talk about. It's a Monday. I always mention how Mondays are busy. Today is particularly busy because holy cow, we have a lot to get into. Quite literally, we're going to be talking about How to Train Your Dragon, having one of the biggest opening weekends of the year. Will Smith, apparently another movie he ducked out on. Of course, we know about The Matrix, we know about Django Unchained, and well, apparently Inception was also another movie he just couldn't understand, so he decided to pass on it and, regrets it, rightfully so. Of course, He-Man. We've got our first look at He-Man proper, Nicholas Galtazine, James Gunn dunking on Snyderverse fans, and then, of course, doing this whole tell-all interview with all things DC Studios, Marvel, his experience across, both of the brands, what he wants to do moving forward. He dropped a few nuggets about Superman, about Batman, about Wonder Woman, about Supergirl, maybe even giving us a hint that Sergeant Rock might actually be canceled rather than being delayed, because there's he hints at a few things, like they might have killed a previously greenlit movie. Which one is that? We'll talk about it. Of course, Naked Gun put out a new trailer over the weekend. I just watched it, that's why we're running a bit late, because I wanted to take a few minutes and admire the goodness that is the Naked Gun trailer. Of course, Fantastic Four, we have our box office projections for that movie now. We have to get into that. I saw The Materialist, or just Materialist. The Materialist is like a 1998 movie, so I just saw Materialist, the one with Dakota Johnson, Pedro Pascal, and Chris Evans. I want to give you guys my review on that. We have so much more beyond that. David Zaslav taking a bit of a pay cut. So, while Warner Brothers is happy with Superman, maybe Zaslav not happy with his pay package. And even a new interview with Rachel Brosnahan, where she talks about how, if you got a bad superhero movie, you shouldn't run away from it. You should own it. So let's do that and so much more right on ahead on another episode of DCU Daily on Oh So Curious.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always the number two.
All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding. You're kidding.
I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see chorus.
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the needs now?
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
All right, and even beyond all the things I mentioned at the top of the show, of course, we've got more news. We've got like 2 Batman movie anniversaries to talk about. The Looney Tunes may have left your favorite streaming service, HBO Max, but they may not be gone forever. So we'll talk about all of those things, so much more, and I'm sure beyond that with your comments and questions and fan theories. To do that, as always, with me, I've got John. How are you doing today, John?
I'm doing okay. I've had a not productive weekend. That's fine. Now I'm going back into the productive side. One can only hope. So, yeah, had a good Father's Day, celebrating my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Had a very disappointing review of Life of Chuck, but we gotta make this shit work. So it's a-okay.
We'll wait to talk about the Life of Chuck till Liz is on the show, because I'm sure you guys want to chop it up. But yeah, I will talk about Materialists in a bit. Be Positive saying, will the fandom menace be in Spaceballs to the toxic group who stole their name from the Phantom Menace? I hope so. I really do hope so. That would be awesome. By the way, yeah, of course, hello, Be Positive. You're in the chat. Enterprising is here. Morkatna and Man of Steel Magnolias first in the chat. So hello to everybody watching. So we have, like I said, a packed show, but as always we do on Mondays, we'd like to start things off by talking about the weekend box office. So this past weekend at the box office, you guys had a number of new movies, including, of course, you had How to Train Your Dragon, the live action remake of a franchise that's already made, I guess like $1 billion already at the box office. So, or multiple billions of dollars, I forget the exact number, but there's been multiple, animated movies now. They're doing a live action movie. and the same person who basically directed the animated ones is back to direct a live action one. And well, here we go. Let's take a look at the numbers, John, shall we? Because the opening weekend for this was a franchise best. You look at the number 84 million plus box office opening at the domestic box office, How to Train Your Dragon. That comes in higher than all three of the previous movies, the animated movies. It's already looking ahead to potentially a 40 million plus second weekend, which would be an amazing second weekend because that's just about a 50% drop. So that's great for a movie that opened up as high as it did. I mentioned later in the show, I'm going to be talking about The Materialist, or just, again, Materialist, not The Materialist. Two different movies. But, of course, the Dakota Johnson-led picture is coming in at a little over 11 million. So not bad for a rom-dram, but it's decent. It's A24's third biggest debut, which is again part of their strategy of going more mainstream. So that's pretty good. John, as far as the number overall, when you look at it for context, the How to Train Your Dragon franchise, the previous three openings, if you go by the biggest to smallest, the biggest opening for the franchise was 55 million domestic for the third movie, the third animated film. The second movie had the second highest with 49 million, and then the first one did 43.7. So you could see that with 84 million, this is firmly, a level above. Like you're looking at, at least 50% more money than what, the previous three movies did in opening weekend. So that's really good. That's a good thing for the franchise. The movies also, we talked about it last week. We've been talking about it recently a lot. It's got great ratings with the fans and with the critics. So are you surprised to see these numbers? Are you surprised to see that it's the biggest opening in the history of the franchise?
No, I mean, one, it has enough establishment in terms of the movies and I think it was on Nickelodeon, the TV show, Be Positive. Because you mentioned the TV show. I think it was on Nickelodeon. But so it does have some establishment, and the fact a lot of people love How to Train Your Dragon, so there's that as well. So yeah, it makes sense. I think that makes perfect sense, and plus, I would assume this is not adjusted for inflation. So it definitely seems like it made more money because tickets cost more. So there is that as well.
I mean, that's part of it, but I don't know if that makes up for the entire difference.
No,
I mean, I understand
but I'm just saying,
though.
like, that helps it a little bit, but it's a well-established franchise at this point. And, it had the Lilo and Stitch effect, where it's like, oh, the people who went to go see this movie... Right. Might not have kids now because it's newer than Lilo and Stitch, but like maybe a nephew or a niece or like a friend's kid or like a young cousin or something like that, and they're like, oh, I saw this movie when I was younger, I'm gonna take you to see the new one now. So it's like, yeah, that makes sense. So it works.
Yep.
It had that
absolutely
well-established, sort of thing. Same with Lilo and Stitch. It had like a lot of like TV movies. It had a TV show, not just the main movie. All that shit.
Yeah.
So, I think, it works like that. It definitely works. So,
I mean, look, as far as the opening weekend goes, it's a reflection of the fact that people thought this movie was worth going out to see. Like right away, right? It's now the word of mouth has to travel and give it the legs that it needs. Steven in the chat saying, watch till F1 takes the #1 spot. Well, I mean, F1 did, like Be Positive is saying, they had their world premiere, the red carpet premiere today. If you guys were watching, I think they had a live stream going on online. But F1, I mean, look, this is not the biggest opening of the year. This is the fourth biggest opening of the year. I think if you look at the biggest openings of the year, I think I had this open. So here we go. So let's look at the numbers. I mean, right now, I believe this is an opening weekend, but let me go here, opening weekend, and I wonder if I can organize it by top 10 biggest grossing opening weekends. I don't know. This is not clearly working for me, but anyway, the biggest openings of the year, as per this article. I thought this chart was going to help, but according to this article and the numbers from the movies, the biggest openings of the year, you have, of course, I believe you've got Minecraft, Lilo and Stitch, Mission Impossible. So this is only sitting behind those movies. Now, of course, as we go on to the rest of the year, I'm sure you're gonna have Jurassic World in there at the top, probably for a little bit. Then you have Superman coming in. We're gonna talk about Fantastic Four's projections coming up soon for the opening weekend. That will probably get up there. F1 potentially could do really well. Although F1, I have a feeling domestic opening weekend might not be the biggest. You probably will see F1 do a lot better internationally. And different target audiences, like Be Positive saying. So the most successful race car movie ever made, Be Positive. I wouldn't say, I don't know. Days of Thunder, probably not. I mean, you might be surprised. It might just be Talladega Nights from a money perspective. I don't know, which must be surprising. But I mean, maybe, because considering Days of Thunder came out so long ago, from just pure box office numbers. Maybe, John, you can look that up. But in the meantime, I did want to get into some of the international numbers. How to Train Your Dragon kicking off its worldwide premiere with almost 200 million, 198 million worldwide. Lilo and Stitch now has crossed 858, so getting closer to 900 million, well on its way to $1 billion, going even faster than Minecraft did. And it's the summer holiday season, so this is the time of the year when a movie can really race to that $1 billion mark if it gets off to a great start like Lilo and Stitch did, even more so than Minecraft could earlier in the year when it wasn't the summer months. I mean, Mission Impossible, John, also just crossed $500 million, which is a franchise high. So especially, I think it's international, well, not franchise high overall. It's not the highest grossing movie in the franchise, but it is doing really, really well abroad. It's doing really well in China as well. Some of the fun facts about the big movie this weekend, of course, I mentioned earlier, John, we talk about a lot of live action remakes, and we look at, okay, they bring in a new creative team, they try to remake it, they try to adapt the animated movie, maybe to do a frame by frame recreation. But in this case, Dean DeBlois, pardon me if I messed up his name, he co-directed the 2010 classic, and he directed the 2 sequels, and he's the one who is directing the live action remake. It's got a 98% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, a cinema score. Do you think it was important and valuable, and obviously in hindsight you look at the numbers, the right decision to bring in the guy who directed pretty much every movie in the franchise in the animated realm to then do it in the live action one as well?
I mean, that makes sense. The guy who did it right the first time might as well do it again. Two friends of mine did see the movie, and they said, yeah, it's essentially a retread, but the heart and story of these characters is still there, and it's still, it still works. I mean, I still have no interest because I don't care. I mean, because it's just I could just watch the original, which is much more colorful, much more interesting. Perfect representations of the characters. You can do a lot of things in the animation you can't do in live action. So it's just sure, I can watch it, but I don't want to. So, but I mean, I'm happy to know that this, I have a strong feeling DreamWorks is now going to remake all their other shit. I'm telling you, we're gonna get a remake of Shrek, guys. It's gonna happen. To buy into the memes, they're gonna do it. They're just gonna paint a guy green and then Shrek the musical and just do that. They'll get Mike Myers back. They're just gonna paint him green. They're gonna get a photorealistic looking donkey voiced by probably Kevin Hart and then this is the shit we're gonna get, because this movie made fucking money. So can't wait for that. And then after 5 years of nonstop hits, they're gonna pump them out by assembly line, and then they're gonna start sucking, and then Illumination is gonna come in and start remaking their animated movies.
Dude.
And then the whole cycle goes all over again. It just keeps going until we run out of animation companies.
Well, I mean, but I wouldn't blame Universal, which is I guess the live action component of Marvel, or not Marvel, but Universal, NBC Universal. They're all under the same umbrella. Maybe they could do that, or DreamWorks, has a live action studio, right? The OG DreamWorks, and then I think DreamWorks Animation is all part of the same unit now under Comcast with Illumination and everything, the same Chris Melandrati, so. It would be nice. It would be, but here's the thing: not every movie's ripe for a live action remake. That's the thing. So,
Exactly.
I mean, this one though, on the other hand, like I keep saying, this one looks like one of the best live action remakes to date. I would put it up there with Cinderella, with Beauty and the Beast. Uh, depending on if you really love the Lion King remake, I personally did not, but a lot of people love it. I mean, it was the record holder for one of the highest grossing animated movies, because it was CGI live action, but it's technically animated until Inside Out 2 took over, and then supposedly, if you believe the Nishan 2 numbers, maybe that also did too. So um but yeah, I mean, hey guys, we have a ton of news coming up later in the show, so be sure to stick around. We're only just getting started here. In fact, I'm trying to put together a list of things so we can get you guys a little bit of a ticker going here at the bottom. Hopefully that covers everything for now. One of the fun facts from the weekend, of course, was that Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning crossed 500 million at the box office, which is great, of course. As far as for the franchise goes, is the franchise capper. I think this Mission Impossible movie is doing better internationally than any Mission Impossible movie has ever done, and to cross 500 million, now it's entering into the top 3 for the franchise overall, which is great. John, are you surprised to see this Mission Impossible movie has the legs that it has? It's doing really well in China. Well, I think it's one of its, if not the top market internationally, is China. Given the spectacle and it's Tom Cruise, are you surprised by any of that?
Hell no. Chinese love that shit. I mean, they're the ones that made like the Fast and Furious franchise like a household name pretty much, after it was initially just like the shitty Point Break ripoff, and then it just became huge.
Yeah. By the way, we did miss you, Steven, as well, in the chat. And hello, Hosea. How are you doing? And Angelica's here as well, saying, I've watched How to Train Your Dragon and Materialist. It's a great film for me. Yeah, we'll talk about Materialist soon. And yeah, How to Train Your Dragon, we were just talking about it. And Mission Impossible, doing really, really well still at the box office, guys. Did you go see it already? If you did, let us know in the chat if you're live or if you're watching live. And if you're watching after the fact, get in the comments down below. What do you think about the opening weekend box office for How to Train Your Dragon? What did you think about just the movies in general? Did you go see a movie this weekend? If so, which one did you see? Did you see Materialist? Did you see How to Train Your Dragon? Did you see Lilo and Stitch? Did you go back and watch Mission Impossible again? Or did you see one of the many other movies that are out there? The Finishing Scheme, there's so many other good ones. And if you guys are watching live, of course, we do ask if you can be so gracious and hit that like button if you're enjoying the show so far. We appreciate that very, very much. And if you're watching after the fact, then get in the comments down below and let us know which of the movies you checked out and enjoyed the most. So right now, we're going to move on to the next thing. We have got a lot going on today's show, as I mentioned before. But you know what? Another movie that has a lot going on is He-Man Masters of the Universe. And what we have got today is our first look at He-Man himself, Nicholas Galtazine. It's a bit of a like a silhouetted shot. Like, so he's backlit here. Clearly, you can see. He, of course, was previously in the movie with Anne Hathaway on Amazon Prime, The Idea of You. You can tell that he bulked up quite a bit for this Amazon MGM reboot of the franchise. John, I want to get your thoughts on this because I know you've had some really spirited conversations about this franchise before.
Yeah.
Without necessarily regurgitating the same points, or if you do want to go back and provide context, you can. I want to get your thoughts on this. This is the image. And at first, look, what do you think about this version of He-Man in live action?
Here's the thing. I will say the image looks like, no context whatsoever, as you said, no context whatsoever. The image looks good. It's fire. It goes hard. Like, not gonna lie, if I saw nothing else in regards to this movie, behind the scenes, anything like that, and just saw this image, and I was a He-Man fan, I'd be like, I am so excited. Let's go. This is going to be Kino cinema right here, after Kevin Smith shit on the franchise, as well as the other Netflix show that was going on. Yeah, like, after he shit on it, let's go. But then I remember, oh yeah, it's taking place on Earth, and it's just going to be a remake of the shitty live-action canon movie from the 80s, and then I'm like, oh yeah, this is probably going to be dog shit. Travis Knight, I love the guy. He fucking directed my
Wasn't it the
favorite
Bumblebee
animated movie of all time, and he did the Bumblebee movie.
Mm-hmm.
So boom, both great movies, and I think he's done a couple other, and he produced a lot of the Leica movies. I think he's a co-founder or something like that. So he's done a lot of great stuff. It's just like I don't understand this need to do. I thought we were done with the whole freaking fish out of water in planet Earth story for fantasy franchises. I thought we were done with that. Like, I'm so done with that. Like, that stopped being a thing in like 2003. Like, I'm just so done. And it just like, it's like, oh, why are we doing this? Why is this happening? And it's just like,
Yeah, I mean, do you agree with Angelica that this has a bit of a Devil May Cry vibe to it, or the image? I don't.
Devil May Cry? No, not at all. I don't. What?
But anyway, okay. Steven asking, did you watch the cartoon of the series and collect the toy figures? I did watch some of the cartoon, the old cartoon. I haven't collected the toy figures myself, so I largely will be going into this franchise kind of fresh in terms of like not having as much.
I don't know a ton about He-Man. I've just seen bits and pieces here and there. It's just like, why just fucking have a movie on Eternia? Like that, just have the movie not take place on Earth and you're golden. Like, it's just fun. Like, I don't get this time. It's in the real, like, how does, fantasy heroes like be in the real world? It's like, why do we need that? Why can't you just tell the story where it's always been told? The thing that made it fucking work for years. Well, I don't get it.
Look, the movie isn't out yet. I'm gonna reserve my judgment till it does come out. It's another Mattel toy adaptation, right? So they did Barbie. Barbie was great. Different set of filmmakers, different studio. So I don't know if that success will translate, but but yeah, Jared Leto is Skeletor. What I was gonna say though, the reason why they put this photo out today is because the movie just wrapped production. So they did this to kind of like mark the end of production on it. So it's all in the can, and they're getting into post-production, or they already are in post-production.
It's definitely in the can, Dan. It's in the trash can.
Well, Nicholas Galtazine did have something to say about the wrapping of production, saying, "Well, that's a wrap on Masters of the Universe. It has been an honor shouldering the responsibility of playing Adam and He-Man. It's been the role of a lifetime, and I put everything into it." I'm sure he did. There's not much that I can show you, but I am so proud of the movie we have made. Thanks to our amazing cast and crew for all of your hard work. Now, John, in one of the best examples of enhance, I went and found somebody did a bit of Photoshop work and literally enhance the image to the point where you go from what is just a dark silhouette to this. So you get a lot more detail. So you're getting a lot more information, like again, like what his I guess, what do you call those, the things on his arms? Gauntlets, like what they look like. I guess we've seen the sword already, so we already know what that looked like. But more of his costume. I mean, it certainly looks like he worked hard. I don't know if he's the most jacked man playing a superhero in a movie I've ever seen. I bet you Chris Hemsworth can. It looks way better and stuff.
I mean, it looks like the character, but with like a slight, like, I know that the loincloth he wears is like kind of like a furry thing, and then it's the thing he wears on his chest that's like silver, but like this is like it's more like, it feels like more He-Man meets Conan the Barbarian.
Like, for me, it's like I feel like he like he's saying the figure drawing leg day was skipped, so was arm day. I'm like, it feels like he also skipped back day. I've seen more well-defined back muscle. Again, it's not the thing that's gonna make or break the movie. But
this is why motherfuckers can dehydrate themselves on movies and nearly kill themselves. It's because of assholes like you. They're gonna be, well, he doesn't look strong enough. Okay, let's just kill the guy then and not have him drink fucking water. It's like, I'm fine. This dude is yoked. Meanwhile, I'm like fucking obese. And I'm like, yeah, this guy, he could be more muscular. Like, who the fuck am I? I'm like fucking obese, hairy, short, bald ass motherfucker looking like a bitch. And you know,
No,
this
I
guy's
know. It's
yeah, he could be more muscular. Like, come on, like, what is this? I'll dunk on fucking Kevin Smith as long as, like, Kevin Smith is a fucking crime bitch boy. All right, let's just get that perfectly clear. God damn. Fuck Kevin Smith. Oh, he's nerd Jesus. He's not my Jesus. He can jump off a bridge for all I care. Okay, that's lean, but like I'm just saying, like, oh, Kevin Smith, this guy, Kevin Smith could fuck off. Like that dude's a has been. Like, bro's still wearing jorts like it's the fucking 1996. Like, get out of here, fucking Kevin Smith. All right, he made like 3 good movies back in like 1998. Come on, well, I'm sick of people sucking his dick at this point. Jesus Christ.
Actually, speaking of what you just, I'm not gonna repeat what you just said, but we're gonna talk about the Naked Gun trailer in a little bit. It has look up, it's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's just John, not the George.
Yeah, I'm definitely the size of 747. Although the difference is I actually stay together, unlike the Boeings. Anyway.
Oh yikes! Okay, all right. Now Boeing's catching strays for no reason. Guys, let us know.
I'm gonna catch a strays because just by saying that, I'm probably gonna be assassinated tomorrow. I'm fire right now because I'm hot as balls. It's hot in my head because it's like, oh, we have to. Because I fucking hate it when my parents are there. They're like, oh, we have to turn off the AC. It's like, bro, it's fucking like 90 outside. I'm hot. It's summer. Just give me air conditioning. I will pay for the goddamn electric bill if I have to. Okay, give me air conditioning. I'm sick of this. Like I can't. I have to fucking close the door because I'm yelling and shit. Like I'm hot. Like you feel my back right now. It's like sweaty as shit. I'm sweatier than He-Man is in this goddamn
literally and figuratively. But I mean, look, I guess we have our first look, our first image at He-Man proper. You've got,
and he looks good. I don't think the movie's going to be that good.
I mean, again,
maybe I'll be convinced. Maybe only a little bit will take place on Earth, and I will be convinced with a trailer, more of a synopsis. Obviously, we'll see. But I will say, ignoring all the context that we've gotten so far, He-Man looks great. Yeah. He looks like a beefcake. That's all I can really ask for.
And again, like Enterprise mentioned, perfectly so, good storytelling and acting is ultimately what's gonna, help drive this movie's success. It's not gonna be He-Man's physique. They could have gone. I mean, again, it helps, but it's not what's gonna like make this movie be good or bad or like succeed versus flop. So John versus air conditioner, Dawn of Midlife. John, midlife crisis. No, I think it's a little
YouTube short tomorrow. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, let's keep the ball rolling here, guys. Let us know what you think about the He-Man first look, the image. Maybe you guys can let us know what you thought about John's thoughts on Kevin Smith, whatever you care to comment on, get in the comments down below and let us know. But we have got a lot more to talk about. Of course, now we get into, as always, we have a ton of DC news to talk about. So we will save the vast majority of it because we have all the James Gunn quotes from his big interview with Rolling Stones later on in the show. But right now, I want to get into all the Superman marketing as we do. We got to check in. What are they marketing today? Like, who did they collaborate with today? There's a few more interviews we got to talk about. So let's dive into that, shall we? So, John, part of a lot of the James Gunn, interview was focused on what's going on with the different factions of fans at DC. Specifically, the faction, the loud minority, as we like to call them, that want to restore the Snyderverse. Now, here's the thing. When this was first, a hashtag, restore the Snyderverse, after the Zack Snyder cut of the Justice League came out, or the Snyder cut as it's colloquially known, I was somebody who was like, yeah, hashtag restore the Snyderverse. But at the time, James Gunn did not have the job. And supposedly Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdy were working on a Man of Steel 2, but with Henry Cavill coming back, he came back for Black Adam and said, I'm back, guys, I'm back as Superman. So I was like, yeah, give me more of that. Like, there were a lot of good things in the Snyder Cut that I thought they could continue forward with. Again, the movie wasn't perfect, but I was in that camp. But then, of course, a lot has changed. Like Discovery bought Warner Brothers, they've completely changed up everything. They're starting out fresh. I totally understand, given that the movies just weren't making the kind of money they wanted to. There was all these controversies, whether it was Ezra Miller, whether it was, you know, The Rock trying to take over the franchise, or like all the other things that were going on in the franchise. Ben Affleck leaving and coming back and leaving again. You know, what's going on with Jason Momoa, like basically played himself in Aquaman 2 as opposed to playing the actual character. So now we have a new universe, but of course the loud minority hasn't gone away, John. But James Gunn recently addressed that loud minority, saying, you know what, even if those guys are out there trolling us, I think we will survive. And basically, if you look at so one of the quotes in the Rolling Stones was that he, you know, was asked about Zack Snyder's fans actively rooting against him, and to which he responded, I don't mind it. I think it's good. I think you don't want to have everybody root for you. It's all right to have an opposing force every once in a while. So just now, this is the most, you know, mundane, calm part of him addressing the Snyderverse fans and trolls. I think in this case he's maybe addressing more of I guess he's talking about the trolls. But John, what do you think about the initial statement here in Rolling Stone, where James Gunn is kind of, you know, pretty jovial and not like, you know, saying, yeah, they suck or anything like that, but you know, he's taking it as a bit of a challenge to overcome. What do you think about his thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, just like, I kind of liked this whole interview because it's just like James Gunn not giving a flying fuck about it. Like, obviously he's passionate about some things, but I think at the same time, it's like, I just love how nonchalant it was. Like, it's just like, what about this thing? What about that thing? And he's just like, I don't really care. You know, it's like, here's the thing. In regards to this specific statement, if nobody hates you, you're doing something wrong, in the great words of Dr. Gregory House, because you're going to be hated. You're going to be hated by somebody. You're going to be the cause of someone's villain origin story. Apparently Yash's villain origin story in the comments right now. But like, I think this was an interesting interview. I think we got a lot of information. Obviously we're going to be talking about it throughout the show, but I think, I agree with this. Like, there's going to always be people rooting against you no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the case no matter what.
I mean, look, Rolling Stone hasn't always put out the best stuff, especially in recent years, but this interview was amazing. And we will really dive into all, don't you worry. We're going to cover every little itty bitty piece of news nugget that James Gunn dropped later in the show. This is just where we're starting out. I don't know if Yash is being serious right now, if he's just trolling. I think he's being a bit of a troll, which is okay. I enjoy the fun. We're in this case talking specifically about the people who actually, you know, are very serious about boycotting basically the movie. Yeah, I mean, some negativity is good to keep your toes grounded. Exactly. That's essentially what James Gunn said. The title of the article was, you don't want everyone to root for you, which is great. You know, he's facing an uphill battle because the DC franchise as a whole was just kind of in the dumps outside of, you know, a few successes here and there, like Joker, the Batman, and you know, the Penguin has done great. So you have Peacemaker was good, the Suicide Squad was good, but like in general, you know, the things haven't been very good. So he's got to overcome that with the average audiences. And clearly James Gunn and Zack Snyder are still friends, have been since early parts of their career when they worked on, was it Dawn of the Dead was the one that they worked on together?
Yeah.
Gunn wrote it, Zack Snyder directed it. So, you know, they've known each other for a long time. They work on the same backlot in Hollywood at Warner Brothers. Hello, Jalen in the chat. How are you doing? Figure Drawing saying, if I was James Gunn, I'd behave more like Nolan. He's straight up addicted. Gunn is addicted to social media. Nolan doesn't even use a smartphone. Well, you know, most people are not like Nolan. I think you're talking about two different extremes. I feel like if Gunn kind of comes up in the middle, that would be, you know, maybe a little bit more of what we were looking for. Like, okay, don't be online all the time, but we don't mind having our questions answered every once in a while. Yeah, Kevin Feige doesn't do a lot of social media either, and we'll talk about the how Kevin Feige is connected to this interview in a little bit as well. But yeah, Yash continues to troll in the chat, which is great. It's good fun, Yash. But speaking of trolling, James Gunn did respond to a Snyderverse fan urging people to spoil and review bomb Superman, saying, "I think we will survive," James Gunn said. "I'm not sure the 8 people that listen to that guy," and then he, in parentheses, says, "I presume it's a guy," are going to impact the course of events. More specifically, this is the post. I found like a more higher resolution version. Apparently, this person on Reddit put together a 3-point plan for how you guys could potentially boycott the new Superman movie if you really want Snyderverse back. And you know what the most pathetic thing, because again, like I said, I at the very top of this segment, I mentioned I, for one, at one point in time did tweet restore the Snyderverse, but it was a very different time, and DC did not have a new James Gunn, cinematic universe that they were creating. They did not have a new Superman movie, did not have a Supergirl movie. None of that was happening. So at the time, I was like, yeah, you know what? That movie was good. The Snyder Cut was kind of okay. Like, I want some of those plot threads to be, brought back in and expanded upon. So, yeah, but I mean, now I'm not on that train. I'm like, yeah, maybe you want to close that out as an animated thing or a comic book, sure. But I'm not gonna like be what this person is saying at the very bottom, John. The hashtag, if we can't have our Superman, no one can. Like that to me is pretty toxic and pathetic. What do you think about that?
That literally sounds like a Lex Luthor quote. If I can't be the man of tomorrow, nobody can. It's like, right. That's literally just a Lex Luthor. It's literally
Luthor villain line. Behavior. It's literally
this is the villain origin story, but like, yeah, this is just ridiculous. I don't know why we're highlighting this crap, because it's like they're just getting off on like it being viral. I don't think they even care. So,
well, I mean, look, here's the thing. I mean, look, obviously James Gunn addressed it saying, I think we'll survive, because there's not that many people out there who are following this rhetoric in the first place. But then I saw this on Twitter. I think one person here, as pointed out by our movie news, and then it's via movies that Maher, they said Zack Snyder demonstrated a comic accurate godlike Superman, and then James Gunn is demonstrating a comic accurate mainstream Superman. You can like both, and both can be great. I feel like that right there is the perfect sentiment to have. Like, I think that's the right attitude. Like, you can like and love both. I feel like I will love both because I love Man of Steel. I do. Like, and I would have loved to see a Man of Steel 2 at one point in time. But I also feel like this new Superman movie looks amazing. So I you know what? I can be that person. I am that person. Like, I would love to have both flavors of my ice cream and have my cake and eat it too. John, how do you feel? Do you feel like this is the right approach to it all?
Yeah, I think it's I agree. Like, it's just, exactly like there is everything for everyone. That's why I'm like, I know a lot of people hate the Zack Snyder Superman, and that's fine, but it's like the thing is you can actually explain it away in a comic. There's so much material that you could be like, oh, that level of Superman in the actual continuity. I'm not talking about like Injustice or shit like that. I'm talking about the actual continuity. You can explain that, like some weird obscure Bronze Age comic of like Superman number 633, and you'd be like, well, it says right here. So you could find an explanation for every iteration of these characters. Yeah. It's just, I personally don't care for it, but if you like it, that's fine. Just don't be a dickhole. That's all. Just don't.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. By the way, like Be Positive is saying, guys, hit the like button. We love that you guys are here, and hopefully you're enjoying the conversation. And if you are, then you can help us out by hitting the like button. It really does help us out. It helps to get this show in front of more eyeballs. We're seeing new names in the chat each and every day, and we love that. And we love that you guys are part of the community as we march our way all the way to when Superman comes out, and of course everything DCU beyond that. So, John, one of the other things, when of all people, Rob Liefeld is telling you, of all the people, when Rob Liefeld tells you it's over, I think the Snyderverse fans can listen to that and be like, okay, it's over. Even Rob Liefeld is telling us it's over. So, did you see this, by the way? I don't know if you saw this at all.
I did. I when I saw this, I'm like, okay, if Rob Liefeld, of all people, is like being the voice of reason, you are 100 and completely, and I'm sorry to the YouTube algorithm for this, fucked 6 ways from Sunday. Like, Rob old man who yells at cloud daily, Liefeld, is telling you grow the fuck up and move on. Says the guy who can't move on from the fact that he's not like hot shit anymore. That's saying something.
Yeah.
That is saying something.
I know, right? It's like when Rob, like, it's like, of all the people, if you're not taking my word for it, if you're not taking John's word, or anybody in the chat, or like James Gunn or whoever else, take Rob Liefeld's word. Like, even he is telling you guys it's over. It's over. Go home, everybody. It's over. Like, come back and watch Superman when it comes out. But all right, John. Speaking of Superman, though, let's move on and talk about the fact that they've been putting out, of course, more trailers and sneak peeks. This is one they put out on Father's Day, a more focused on the Kent's version of the teaser. Did you get a chance to see this? Again, the big quote from the official trailer was something that Pa Kent was telling Superman. It's like, your choices, your actions make you who you are. And you can see, again, Superman with kids, more footage from the movie itself. Love to see that. What do you think about this new teaser that we got?
Excellent. Another thing, add it to the list. Excellent.
I love the comments, right?
Yeah, no. Rob Liefeld, not enough patches, not enough pockets, not enough belts, not enough bad feet either.
You get 2% credit today, Rob.
Broken clock is right twice a day.
Exactly. And you know what, Steven, you were right. The tour does start this week. I feel like, isn't it the 19th, or is it? Somebody let me know what the first date of the tour is. They're going to be in Manila, so I bet you they're probably already flying out there. But this spot was great. Not only that, John, they did post a few other things. Of course, they had this image, Happy Father's Day. So it looks like we're going to get more of that relationship in the new movie, of course, hopefully moving forward, depending on if Pa Kent survives the film, which we do hope so. So yeah, I mean, we'd love to see more of that in the movie. I think so far. Oh, thank you. Okay, I see why you're thanking us, Jose. The Yush was really blowing up the chat. But anyway, hopefully, Yush, when you're feeling a little better, you're welcome to get back into the chat. But John, what did you think about the overall promotion for Happy Father's Day? Again, Superman is everywhere on social media.
Absolutely, love to see it, and this is a very father-heavy movie. So, well, at least for the Pa Kent side of things, because I don't know if we're getting Jor-El in this movie, but whoever it is, if we are, I'm sure they're going to touch on that too. But I feel like it's mainly Pa Kent.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the big surprise, right? Like, potentially, we don't know yet. And I mean, rumors will keep swirling until the movie comes out. Maybe it is Bradley Cooper. Maybe it is somebody else. I wouldn't mind seeing an A-lister. They've always, Marlon Brando, Russell Crowe. So yeah. And then again, Superman releases on the birthday of James Gunn's late father. I don't know for sure, but I mean, that was the one of the things that was swirling around. I mean, it's probably not that far off the mark. James Gunn, of course, said that his love for Superman comes from his dad, introducing him to the Superman comics when he was young. So that's definitely a big part of his motivation. So yeah, KO, hello, and welcome on in. You're watching us live. I mean, that's great. We always love it when you guys are able to chat with us live. We're able to talk back and forth. And again, for Jor-El, I mean, Bradley Cooper was the big contender. Again, it's still a bit of a rumor. Nobody has confirmed it. James Gunn is not going to reveal that, I bet you. We didn't even know how much of that we're going to get. We might only just get a piece of video in The Fortress of Solitude, unlike what we got in Man of Steel, which was a much more involved role with Russell Crowe playing Jor-El. Really, it is confirmed? I don't know. I don't know, John. Did we ever see that confirmation that it is Bradley Cooper? I didn't realize that was the case.
That was a rumor.
Yeah.
And none of it. Yeah, I think that was just like some bullshit rumor.
Yeah.
Like, oh, maybe. No, I don't. If it is the case, then the rumors are true and somebody leaked something. Cool, great. I mean, I wouldn't mind it, but I don't think that's true. So
I don't think either. We will keep our eyes out for it, though. We will. I mean, and yeah, quick, flashback scene. That's probably all we need. I don't think this movie is going to focus as much on Krypton or the Jor-El or just the House of El in general. So in that sense, I don't think we're going to get a ton. But yeah, maybe in future movies, hopefully we'll get to explore more of Superman's background. Oh, nice. All right, Keo got a new song on his channel. You guys can go check that out. In the meantime, John, they do have, of course, this Daily Planet newsletter you can get on Instagram. So if you are following the Superman Instagram account, they have a Daily Planet newsletter this thing called like these are broadcast channels on Instagram, so people can join them and then they'll get messages. In the latest iteration, they said breaking news: up and away from harm's way, Superman swoops in and saves young girl after a massive explosion erupts in downtown Metropolis. Of course, the image that they're showing here is the image that they've been showing in, very from the very first trailer onward, and it looks like this is how the Daily Planet will cover it. John, your thoughts on this? Again, it's a newsletter. It's another way that they can stay connected with the fans. It's again more viral marketing, if you were, or as it were. Did you guys?
Yeah. I love to see it.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, like I love to see it. I think it's great. I think, like that's pretty much everything in regards to this movie. I think it's great, and they're really letting in on this.
Absolutely. And you know what? There's a bunch more collaborations we'll get into, but there is one other promo they released, the Real Powers in the Glasses, where you get a lot of the same footage we have seen before, but then there's some new stuff in there. So I did enjoy that. More of that fight with the Hammer of Baravia, more Lex Luthor, the winning smile of Superman. Of course, more little promos and ad spots, and again, the looking up, Cat Grant, Crypto, Lois Lane. So I just more and more good marketing, and you guys can go get the tickets now. But also, I saw that James Gunn posted on his stories, Oxford Street in the UK. The HMV shop, of course, their current logo has crypto in it, and so they're doing a big banner to promote it in front of the shop front in London. And we know that Superman has this big collaboration with HMV. So if you go and still get your movies and music in physical media form, and you drop by an HMV store, you can see a lot of Superman marketing. John, what do you think about this one here?
This is awesome. I didn't catch this one, but I love crypto next to the gramophone, whatever the hell it's called. I think that's cute as hell. I think this is very lovely. HMV. What did you say that stood for again?
I don't know if it actually, I forget what it stands for exactly. But it's like this brand is sort of used to be huge back in the day when a lot of people bought the DVDs and tape cassettes and stuff and records. Now it's not so much. It is a distinctly British brand. They're owned by
London, so that makes sense.
Yeah, they're owned by different companies, and actually it's like as a brand name, it's one thing, but they're owned by two different companies depending on which part of the world you're in. So I don't know what the equivalent of that would be in the US, since Blockbuster and everything closed down a long time ago. Be Positive saying it stands for His Master's Voice. So there you go. I think that is what I read, but I wasn't sure if that was the official thing because I'm not as familiar with them. But yeah. Anyway, so that looks great, and James Gunn has posted about it before, but this is an image from Oxford Street. So there you go. That looks nice. Jalen Harris is so happy. The marketing for this movie is amazing, and Jalen's thinking it's gonna make $1 billion. So yeah, absolutely. The marketing has been on fire. Absolutely has been on fire. HMV stands for His Master's Voice. It is a British music and entertainment retailer, and the name is derived from a painting of the same name. The painting by Francis Burrow depicts a dog named Nipper listening to a phonograph. Look at that. That is perfect fit. That's a perfect fit to just kind of sneak in crypto there for the time being while Superman is marketing its way to the theaters near you. Speaking of which, John, in the movie Superman itself, we see Lois Lane wearing a watch. Apparently, it is one of the classic Timex pieces. So forget about Fossil, or not forget about Fossil. Maybe in addition to the Fossil watches they've been putting out, you can get yourself a vintage 1980s Cavatina, which makes a bold return on Lois Lane in the movie. John, I mentioned to you before the show started, you were already drooling over the Fossil timepieces. Maybe you should get yourself a Timex instead. What do you think?
Yeah, and fucking offer my firstborn son to these people? Hell no. Like, you think I could afford this shit? I can't afford Fossil. Like,
you could be like, go up on Pride Rock and like offer the baby to the gods, and you get the watch in return. Like, that should be a little commercial.
I'll stick with my mug and my Dairy Queen cup. Like, all right, I'm not gonna bankrupt myself over this shit.
Sounds good to me. All right, moving on to the next thing. There's a bunch more stuff. Dude, Amari Goshan, I swear to God, every time I watch one of his clips, my mouth is watering right now. And this guy, apparently, I'm going to start this clip from the top because, like, we got to see the whole thing. he sees the newspaper, a page of the Daily Planet. He gets an idea. He's like, what can I do? And then he starts putting together essentially the logo of the Daily Planet. It's like this guy, and I forget, there's like another pastry chef. He's like from France. He's got a storefront in Paris. And between the two of them, every time I see one of these clips, I just, God, like I'm like, I have to
inject
like,
it into my
DoorDash.
veins. Although
Exactly.
I do have chocolate with me. It's not a Daily Planet globe, but I do have chocolate with me right now.
Oh, you know what, Jose? I will say though, I saw that on the John Campea show. There was supposedly dude. Okay, John, I don't know if you heard about this. There was a theater in Connecticut, and then get this, guys. We both are, surprisingly enough, and I guess depending on if it was true or not. Fortunately enough, John and I are both from the great state of Connecticut, or at least that's where we are right now when we're doing the show. And apparently, there was a theater advertising a 4th of July screening for Superman a week before everybody else gets to see it. And people got tickets to it. And then over the weekend, they got an email saying, well, sorry, we're going to have to cancel those tickets. But apparently, we made a mistake. And people called in to double check. Are you sure this is the week ahead and you're actually doing a screening on the 4th of July? And they were like, yeah, we are. But then ultimately, they were like, oh, no, our bad. I guess Warner Brothers PR or James, somebody must have seen it, or they might have caught their mistake. But John, wouldn't it have been nice if, as residents of the state, we could have just like driven however many minutes it would take us to get there? And some people might have been like flying out across the country to go see it. I guess it's not going to happen, but yeah, I mean, whatever that theater was doing, clearly they need to be more careful about listing out movies like that, because that's a lot of false advertising. Even if it was a genuine mistake, but I don't know if you heard about this, John.
Yeah, I didn't hear about it, but like I do follow this guy. I must have missed it because I followed this guy on Facebook, so I was like, maybe I just didn't catch it in time or something. But I mean, I've seen that this guy has done like dragons and pirate ships. Gumball machines. Like he's done like little tiny stuff.
He's great.
To big, huge
Amari
stuff.
Gouchon is great. Yeah.
He do, and like I love how he's always smiling. So like it makes sense. Like love to see it, and this is great. Absolutely, Kino right here.
It's just with him. I think he has a residency in Las Vegas, so he does a lot of chocolate based stuff, right? And then Cedric Grolet, if you guys watch him, he's French, and his stuff has got a lot of like fruit-based delicacies, which has chocolate and fruit mixed together. And between the two of them, I mean, like, oh my God, like I cannot tell you how often I've seen those, and I'm like, I will fly out to Paris literally just to eat that stuff, because it's like a storefront where you can see him do all the work, and then you will bring it out on a platter, and you can get like these little tasters. I'm like, please, right now. Yes, absolutely. I would set aside a day. I would set aside a whole weekend to eat that Daily Planet globe. Hey, Brad is here. Brad Underwood, you're new to the chat. Hello, and welcome on in. If you're new, hit subscribe. We're doing this thing 5 days a week, and we love for you guys to be around. And if you're in the live chat, you can interact with us. And if you're here after the fact, you can drop your comment down below, and we will bring that in for the Q&A session on Friday. So definitely welcome on in, Brad. There's chocolate, and then there's chocolate. This is definitely chocolate. But John, speaking of delicacies, if you are a fan of making fan art, then IMAX has got a new fan art program for you, because this is your chance to get your fan art featured in select Regal IMAX theaters. The submissions end in a couple of weeks from now on June 30th. So you have 2 weeks literally from today to submit your fan art at supermanfanart.imax.com. We mentioned the other day when we did the tier list for Superman posters, there was one Superman fan art poster in there, which we thought was like as good, if not better, than any of the official posters, John. So we've seen a ton of them from so many talented fan artists out there. Would you care to submit to this? Would you want to potentially see your fan art be featured in select Regal IMAX theaters, Sean?
No, I can't draw. No, I can do stick figures. That's it. I can't do anything else. I can't. I mean, that would be awesome. But I don't have a Regal near me, and 2, I can't draw. Don't get me drawing. I can do stick figures and cat scratches. That's it. I can't. Thanks, Brett Underwood, but unfortunately you're an Eagles fan. But we'll let it slide for this. We'll let it slide for the time being.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, look, there's going to be 2 submissions per email allowed. So if you do submit, you could submit up to 2 things. And I'm sure a lot of the fan art that we've seen already out there. Look, that fan poster, that's like really my favorite one. Let me see if I can find it. Because guys, I don't know who this person is or if they saw this, but that person needs to submit to this because it is literally probably the best fan poster I've ever seen. John, like, I don't know. Do you remember the one I'm talking about? It's the one with like Superman from behind with the cape kind of flying in the wind. It just looks so gosh darn good. Like, I can't wait for that. No, Brad is a big fan of the Eagles. There you go. I'm not a fan of the Eagles, but hey, they are the defending champions. So there you go. But yeah, John, just overall your thoughts on the Superman marketing so far. I'm trying to see if I can get that poster in here.
No, remember, Dan, that it's terrible. It's terrible. It's the worst marketing ever. It's terrible.
Is it though? I feel like this movie is more in our faces than any Superman movie that I've ever
I know.
seen.
I'm joking. I'm making fun of the people who are like, it sucks. It's like they're not.
But this is the poster I'm talking about.
I can do that. That's all I
you
can
could
do.
You could do a very simplistic one if you wanted to. This one right here, I think this fan poster is as good, if not better, than any official poster I've seen so far. Like, I hope
got that Dutch angle thing going on.
I love that Dutch angle. I love it. It's. I hope this person gets to submit theirs, and hopefully this will end up in an IMAX theater somewhere in a Regal. That would be amazing to see if we did actually get to that point. But yeah, I mean, hey, well, I'm skipping back. There we go. So the IMAX fan art program, guys. If you have some fan art you'd like to submit, then go on ahead. You have until June 30th. You can submit up to 2 submissions per email to supermanfanart.imax.com. That's where you can find all the details. And if you win, then you will get your poster or your fan art featured in select Regal IMAX theaters. And that would be quite awesome. Quite the thing, frankly. That drawing does need to be one of our thumbnails. You know what? We will get to that, John. You better scan that in and send that over to me, because Caleb wants to see that as part of a thumbnail that nobody's going to want to click on, which is great idea on the part of Caleb. But I'm being facetious. John, there is this crypto comic book that we've been talking about, the one with the Milkbone tie-in. So Milkbone actually posted a digital version. You can actually get the printed copy. They're saying that no purchase necessary for this. Registration is required. It's not intended for children, meaning that if you, or maybe if you are somebody who's under the age of 18, you'll just have to ask your parents to help with this. But you can go and fetch the limited edition Milkbone Time Superman digital comic book and see Superman only in theaters July 11th, John. Not only do they have the poster here, you got some of the artwork. I really think this is doing justice to the relationship between the characters, and the artwork is fantastic. What do you think about this? You're even seeing, is that Batman's dog on the left? I can't tell. But Superman and Krypto are having a fun time at the park. And you can get yourself this digital comic now. I mean, this artwork is fantastic. What are your thoughts on this, Sean?
This is absolutely beautiful. Love to see it. I remember when we were talking about the Milkbone thing. I think if I could find a way to, I could probably find this somewhere on less than but maybe I could read it. Maybe I could read it and let people know my thoughts. I still need to watch The Legend of Kingdom Come. I still need to let you guys know my thoughts on that, but I just have not been. I have been a very busy boy. That's all.
I know. Well, DC's League of Super Pets, to be
great.
Positive. Yeah, this is amazing. I love this. I love this artwork. Just the 6 or 5 panels they shared here are amazing on their own. I can only imagine how good the rest of it is. But the DC League of Super Pets, to be positive, that one was okay. Not the best thing ever. I mean, Keanu Reeves voices Batman in there. It's a good movie. They had fun. Like I remember having more fun watching the actors promote the movie than the movie itself, but the movie was passable. Like, it's not going to be like the Lego Batman movie, which I think is like the best animated DC movie that they've done in a long time, but it was okay. It was okay. All right. So the next thing, of course, John, Frame Store, the VFX studio that gave us our Krypto. You can see here, they've superimposed the 2 videos of Ozu, James Gunn's own little mutt, and Krypto together, and you can really tell that Ozu is exactly the dog that Crypto is based on, you know, almost down to the, you know, the tiny little hair on his neck, on his back, on his ears, his snout. It looks amazing. This is just great. I love that they were able to put this together, John, but it again drives the point home that Ozu is Crypto, essentially.
Brilliant. Love it. Brilliant.
The goodest boy, or maybe the not so good boy.
Well, I mean, he's a good boy in the fact that he's a doggo, but like, yeah, he's not a great boy.
Yeah. Well, we see him, you know, tag teaming a bunch of LexCorp soldiers in the movie, so that's definitely, I mean, he does help out Superman quite a bit, even though I guess Superman is fostering him, which we also, I mean, David Cornsweet said that himself, so we'll get to see just exactly how that ties into the rest of the universe. But this is great. I love it. I just love how realistic. I mean, you look at this now side by side. I feel like for people saying the CGI in this movie doesn't look good, look at Crypto right here. You tell me for a single second, if you didn't put Crypto next to Ozu, you couldn't tell that which one was real and which one wasn't, right? Like the level of detail is amazing. They look as real as any dog you've ever seen out there. I can't tell them apart. I just love the realism of the CGI. But yeah, I mean, hey guys, that's all the Superman marketing talk we've got for now. But let us know in the comments down below.
We're gonna get into way more stuff. So
way more. Yeah. You have no idea. We haven't even started talking about the Superman or the DC Studio Superman career, everything that James Gunn talked about in that Rolling Stones interview. We'll get into that a little bit later. But let us know all about the Superman marketing. Which of those was your favorite? Was that the Milkbone digital comic? Was it the IMAX fan program, the Timex watch? Was it the HMV tie-in that they've got? Was it looking at how Ozu compares to Crypto? All of those things, of course, let us know in the comments down below. Which part of Superman's marketing are you a big fan of from this past weekend, including all the Happy Father's Day posts, which, you know, of course, we hope that you got to spend your weekend doing that as well. Now, getting to the next thing here, we have to talk about a little bit more James Gunn stuff. So, as I mentioned, James Gunn did this big interview, and as part of that big interview, John, he did talk a little bit about Marvel as well. So James Gunn, of course, comes from having done 3 Marvel movies, and he had quite the experience and learned a lot of lessons doing 3 big studio pictures with the Guardians of the Galaxy. And right now, I mean, as part of this big interview that he did with Rolling Stone, one of the things he was asked about is like, what is the state of the movie industry, and you know, where do you see things going, and also what do you think about Marvel, you know, and what's going on with them of late. And as the headline says here, James Gunn's response was, the movie industry is dying because films are being made without finished scripts, and Marvel got killed, quote unquote killed, those are his own words, killed by output increase, and that wasn't fair. I mean, we have heard this before, that under the Bob Chapek era, that Marvel was just being told, like, quantity, forget the quality, we need to get as much stuff out there as fast as we can. And that resulted in a clear decline in the quality of not only the Disney Plus shows, but also the movies. James Gunn said, more specifically, I do believe that the reason why the movie industry is dying is not because of people not wanting to see movies. It's not because of home screens getting so good. The number one reason is because people are making movies without a finished screenplay. Again, this has been his big philosophy that he continues to spout. And rightfully so, because so far we have seen, you know, that James Gunn is non-committal to any project unless the script is done, John. And you look at the MCU as a franchise right now. We've talked about recently how Thunderbolts probably won't be profitable, given that it's not made back all its money in this theatrical run. Captain America Brave New World was barely profitable, if that. And Deadpool Wolverine is really one of the few successes they've had recently. You had, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. The Marvels was pretty much a flop. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was a flop. Wakanda Forever did really good, but it didn't do as well as the previous movie, so it was overall a decline from the movie that came before it. Spider-Man: No Way Home, another exception to the rule, made almost $2 billion. And Thor: Love and Thunder, we all know about how not good that movie was. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, you know, only works really well when it's a Sam Raimi movie, and when it just becomes a mess when it's a Marvel movie trying to balance all the different multiverse ideas. So, John, do you agree with what James Gunn is saying here, that the movie industry is dying not because, you know, people are watching more movies at home, or not because, you know, movies have gotten worse? It's because people are making, you know, movies without finished scripts. That's the number one reason that James Gunn insists why the movie industry is dying. And also Marvel calling them, you know, saying that they got killed because they just put out way too much at once, and instead of focusing on quality, they were focusing too much on quantity. Do you agree with what James Gunn is saying here?
I've agreed that ever since the first time he said it, because the man repeats himself a lot. I agree with that. I mean, they both have pros and cons, but I feel like this is the better way to do it. I think that I think that's the best way to go. I think I mean, he was talking about a whole bunch of stuff in regards to this.
I mean, be positive, saying like there are other factors. Like, yeah, the Marvels had to go up against the strikes, and so that didn't help its cause. You've seen movies like Mission Impossible's budgets get bloated to 400 million because of the strikes and the work stoppages that we're having. I don't know if identity politics necessarily, Frankie G, was the issue, but maybe it's part of it's a contributing factor. It's definitely not the biggest thing. James Gunn insisting it's not because of superhero fatigue, like one of you guys were suggesting in the chat. It's not because people are not wanting to go see movies in theaters. He's saying it's because, you know, you were seeing these essentially incomplete scripts being put into production, which, I mean, even the new Mission Impossible movies, the way they go about producing them, we're feeling that like they're kind of making it up as they go. So while the action set pieces are great, with the connective tissue doesn't quite feel like it's all there. Do you feel like Marvel has had the same problem because they're kind of starting things off without having a finished script? Even Avengers Doomsday seemingly had that problem, and now we know both of those Avengers movies got delayed, John.
Yeah, I think it's all about the script, and I apologize. I am a little bit there. Hold on. Sorry, it bothers me if I'm at an angle, and I don't want you guys seeing me at an angle.
You don't like your Dutch angles like Sam Raimi?
No, but I think I think a lot of things have hurt Marvel at this point. There was a number of things. I don't think Chapek helped. I mean, I don't think Iger is doing the right things either. I mean, sure, like the shit I took last night is better than the shit I took the night before. It's both shit, man. Like Iger isn't the reason. Iger isn't the answer. Chapek wasn't the answer. I think they need to really go back to the drawing board and just try to do something totally different in order to like really start making moves again. Because I mean, James saw what was going on in Marvel. He's like, okay, I'm going to do all different types of things. So that's great. I believe that. I think what he's doing is probably the best course of action. Is it the right course of action? I don't know. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see with how Superman does and how all these other projects are going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Absolutely.
Considering that the bad writing fatigue is attributed to superheroes because that's the thing that's getting cranked out the most, then yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's also true in other places. Like we have seen other movies like Snow White struggle earlier this year. I don't think it had the best script either, but it had other issues in addition to that. I think most movies, they don't succeed or fail because of one singular thing that went well or didn't go well. It's usually, death by a thousand cuts or multitude of things spiraling into, ultimately a flop or a box office hit. Like Minecraft, a lot of things went into making that the hit that it became for Warner Brothers. Yep. And same for Lilo and Stitch for Disney. On the other hand, Thunderbolts, there's many reasons why it ultimately ended up being, as low of a grosser as it has been. Part of the reason because the characters that they had weren't necessarily the big attractions, and so ultimately it had a lower ceiling. And, in addition to just Marvel not having the greatest momentum coming off Captain America 4, the Thunderbolts movie didn't do as well as it could have ultimately. So, yeah. And then as far as complaining for CGI on Superman and that script is tight, look, it looks like James Gunn has the right approach here. He had a script he did not, that he wanted to execute, and he went and did that. He left very little room for reshoots because that's just how he does things, because he knows exactly what he wants up front, which I think Marvel's approach with how Kevin Feige is like, yeah, we'll go back and, do reshoots. We're budgeted for it and everything. It works, but it also, you're kind of taking away a lot of authorship from the director by having that approach. Because oftentimes when they go back and do those reshoots, they're doing it because the continuity in the larger cinematic universe needs to be altered. And so you're taking away authorship from the director. James Gunn, on the other hand, is saying, look, we have a very filmmaker-centric approach. We give them a script that is approved. They have a very specific idea for how they want to execute it, which is why we hire them for the job, and then we let them do their job. And yeah, every once in a while you run into an issue where you do get into the edit and you're like, you know what, we probably should either do some additional photography to fill a few things here because we maybe need a hero shot here or an insert shot there. That happens with a lot of movies. That's not a big deal. But as far as like extensive 2-3 week, 4 week long reshoots, or even in multiple days worth, that's something that James Gunn largely wants to avoid because they don't want to do what kind of, I guess, Marvel does, which, they go back and they do a lot of different things to like help the universe connect. And James Gunn is like, look, we don't want you to do homework. We want you to enjoy the movies and not feel like everything needs to connect so much that you're going to go into a new movie thinking you need to like put all the pieces together before you can enjoy anything. And I like that approach, guys. Let us know in the comments down below what you think about that. Do you like what James Gunn is saying in regards to, hey, Marvel had a quantity over quality problem, and that's what hurt them. The number one reason why movies aren't doing as well right now, or superhero movies, is not because people don't want to go see them, is because incomplete scripts are getting put into production, and therefore he does not want to make that same mistake again. With that, guys, let us know in the comments what you think about James Gunn's approach and what he said about Marvel there. Right now, we're going to switch over to talking about, of course, Will Smith. He, of course, has got a million different amazing movies on his, IMDb page, on his portfolio, his resume, whatever you want to call it. The man has done from Independence Day to King Richard, and he, everything in between, Hancock, and every other big franchise that he's been a part of. But he has, of course, missed out on a few along the way, John. Famously, he declined the role of Neo for the Matrix movies with the Wachowskis back in the day because he didn't quite understand what it was. He didn't trust the directors. Then, even more famously, I guess, he declined Django Unchained because he was like, my character should be the one at the center of the action at the end of the movie, not, Christopher Waltz's character. And I guess if that's the reason why you tell Tarantino no, then go ahead. But now, to add to insult to the injury, if you will, he just revealed recently in an interview that he turned down Christopher Nolan's Inception, and he quite frankly regrets it, saying, I didn't get it at the time when I got the offer. Movies that go into alternate realities don't pitch well. Which is, and Inception is very much a big sci-fi movie. It's like an indie sci-fi movie with a big, blockbuster budget. That's how I like to describe it. John, are you surprised that he's, turned down Inception? He could have been, the main lead in that movie as opposed to Leonardo DiCaprio. I feel like this is a big whoops from Will Smith.
Is it a whoops from him? Yeah, but like I can't fucking see it. I just think from what I've seen of this movie, which isn't a lot, I know I need to go and watch Inception, but I just think that they got the right people for their roles. That's all I'm going to say about
that. Be positive saying you recently watched a Will Smith movie. There you go. Look, Leo was great. Leo was amazing. But you look at, the Will Smith body of work. Obviously the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, all the Men in Black movies, the Independence Day, I Am Legend, which I guess they're doing a sequel for. Emancipation was great, unfortunately, but the Oscar situation, that movie kind of got crushed and never really went anywhere. But John, you look at his resume, and he was doing things like Welcome to Earth and Life in a Year.
After Earth. Welcome to Earth was his catchphrase in Independence Day.
Never mind. After Earth. Bad Boys, for the Bad Boys movies have been great, but he could have had Inception on top of this. And obviously, like he would avoid movies that are ensemble pieces or movies where, it's a sci-fi picture. But then eventually, I guess he was like, you know what? I don't want to miss out on the next big one. So he signed up for the Suicide Squad movie, which made a lot of money. And he was still, touted as one of the best parts of the movie. But ultimately, clearly that maybe was not the best choice in hindsight. He's done a great job in the Aladdin movie as the genie. So he's got all the talent in the world. But do you think there's a common denominator here for why he's rejected? Not one, not two, but at least of what we know of, and I'm sure there's more examples of it out there that we're not aware of, but 3 franchise-making, 3 career-defining films like Inception, which I know Leonardo DiCaprio was already a big star, so it wasn't like it made his career, but Christopher Nolan made that between The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, and it was probably one of the best original movies ever made. And then when you look at the other movies like Django Unchained, it really brought Jamie Foxx a lot more notoriety as an actor than ever before, even though he was already an Oscar-winning actor at that point. And then you have Neo. You know, it saved Keanu Reeves' career. I mean, how many other roles did Will Smith decline? Are you surprised? I mean, is there a commonality there? Do you think that this is just because he just doesn't think those sci-fi movies pitch very well? Or is there something else to it that he's not saying? Like another reason why he might have declined them?
I just think like he wasn't interested and just didn't do them. I know there was a lot of like, yeah, like how he says here, I didn't get it. I think that was a reason why he declined The Matrix. He just didn't get it. Same with Sean Connery, why he denied The Matrix. So. And so, like, they're like,
Sean Connery didn't get it either.
They're like, I don't get these movies. And I bet, like, half the people who signed on to Matrix are like, I don't get it, but this seems cool. So, slow motion
yeah, but Keanu
shots,
Reeves still got a good deal out of that. So, yeah. Keanu was, like, thinking ahead. Yeah.
So, I like Tenet. I know not a lot of people like Tenet. I know it's kind of confusing, but I
like Tenet.
Thought it was a pretty good movie.
In terms of depicting... what is the term for
like
chaos?
Time travel?
No. It's
chaos theory?
Entropy. In terms of depicting from a scientific and mathematical standpoint the concept of entropy, it's about as accurate as anything anywhere ever has done in movies, cinema, TV shows, anywhere. Christopher Nolan really nailed that from a scientific and logical standpoint. And I do believe Tenet is a great movie. It's hard for people to wrap their heads around it because it's such a non-intuitive concept of entropy, like the way you think about, like, especially when it goes in reverse. Like that's how time travel would potentially actually work in real life. But yeah, Monique, I agree with you. I think both of them are great movies. I don't know. Actually, to be fair, I don't know if I would prefer Tenet over Inception because I feel like Inception is a lot more watchable and easier to digest. Even though a lot of people will be like, "Oh yeah, didn't quite understand it." Everybody likes to quote, "Dream within a dream." Oh, Inception. It's the false analogs, but nonetheless. I love The Prestige personally. I don't know if John, you have seen The Prestige and Memento. Those again,
I have not.
great
So that's false news, my guy.
Christopher Nolan's career. The sound mix, the audio mix in Nolan movies has always been a bit of an issue. So, yeah, be positive describing the concept of entropy in the chat if you guys want to know. But yeah. Anyway, so guys, let us know in the chat down below. What do you think about there is potentially an alternate timeline. Maybe a concept that Will Smith also doesn't understand very well, where he could have been in Inception instead of Leonardo DiCaprio. John doesn't think that would have even worked out very well, that they cast the movie perfectly. Which again, I mean, maybe in a different timeline, Will Smith was the man instead of Leo DiCaprio, and then maybe it would have worked just as well. You let us know. Was that a bad choice? Was that might be an obvious answer, or do you think Will Smith made the right call for not picking up Inception? Instead, Leonardo DiCaprio did, and obviously, he did a really good job with the role. Let us know in the comments down below what you think about that. Will Smith skipping on another, famous movie that did really well, but I'm sure he's been offered a lot of different roles that he's had to skip out on. Right now, we're going to move on to a review. I don't want to take too much of your time with doing this, guys, and I don't know if I can do it complete justice, but I did go see Materialist over the weekend, and I enjoyed it, just not as much as I thought I would. Basically, the movie, the setup at its core is it's a rom-com, a rom-dram more so even, where you're seeing the three characters of I forgot the names of the characters, so I'm just gonna go by the names of the actors. You got Chris Evans, you got Dakota Johnson, you've got, of course, Pedro Pascal in there, and Pedro Pascal's like the rich man who's perfect, or the unicorn, as Dakota Johnson's character likes to, Lucy, I think, likes to call him in the movie. Directed by Celine Song. She's still an up-and-coming director, but the last movie she did was fantastic. This one, people were hoping was a great follow-up. It's kind of based on a bit of her own life because she used to be a matchmaker and back in the day, and Dakota Johnson plays a matchmaker here, and so she's always pitching to her, a very rich or influential clients, like, hey, if you're single, I can find you the perfect match. And on the same night, she comes across her former boyfriend of 5 years, Chris Evans. She comes across Pedro Pascal, who, of course, seems like the unicorn. And he does not want to employ her services. He wants to actually take her out on a date instead. And she's like, I'm not the perfect person for you. And then things kind of go on from there. Meanwhile, Chris Evans' character, of course, wants to get back together with her because he lost her, and he's of course the broke perfect dude who looks the part but could never quite get it all together. So a movie again that has a premise that will sound familiar, but the way they describe the whole dating scene today is, I think, much more accurate. It's a lot of good commentary on what people are looking for. Like the older they get, the more they want to check boxes, and the pressure to find the right person gets to be higher and higher. And so you see a lot of people just not, they're checking boxes, which comes up a lot in the movie, as opposed to finding a good person and just to be happy. And at the end of the day, I think by the time the movie finishes, really, I'm not going to give away the twist of who she ends up with, but she has to make a choice, and decides to go with, or I guess, her heart over her mind in a way, because it's almost second nature to her, the way she talks about checking boxes and finding the perfect person for you. And in the end, she follows her heart over her mind. The movie itself, like the Hollywood Reporter saying, it does subvert the rom-com, the traditional rom-com, with a really frank conversation. However, I do think at the end of the day, the movie didn't quite hit as well for me as I thought it would, because ultimately Dakota Johnson being at the center of it, I hate to say it, but I'm starting to realize that maybe she's not the best actor. She couldn't really carry the movie as well as I thought she would be able to. And there were scenes where she's meant to be crying and stuff, and you just don't buy it from her, as the lead of the film. There's very little of interaction between Chris Evans and Pedro Pascal, but when they're on the screen together, it feels like they have better chemistry than Dakota Johnson does with the other two characters. And yeah, Chris Evans and Pedro Pascal, of course, are amazing in the movie. I think they did a fantastic job. Yeah, exactly, Monique. That's how not memorable the characters are. You don't even remember their names. Exactly. I think Lucy is the name of Dakota Johnson's character, which I remembered. But it is very much one of those things where the setup is so it's so cliche, and then the commentary that they try to provide on top of that, it's just I don't know. The movie is not the kind of movie that I would always see anyway at the movie theater. So it's not my go-to. I've seen a lot of rom-coms growing up, and so I know what a good rom-com feels like. It's not one that's very memorable in that sense. And Hugo, to answer your question, by the way, hilarious question. No, Chris Evans and Pedro Pascal's characters do not end up together, although that would have been a really cool twist, but the twist in the movie is more based on Celine Song's own real life experience. So it has a nice happy ending. If you're looking for a movie that has a nice happy ending, that's more low key, if you enjoy that kind of a movie, you don't want a big action, adventure film, then, this is a good one. It's good to see. It's certainly, doing well with the critics. It's got, I think, a rating in the high 80s with Rotten Tomatoes. So most critics like it. The audience score, on the other hand, was in the 70s. So clearly, like I said, the setup is there. They've got all the pieces. You would imagine on paper this movie would be, unforgettably amazing, but it just doesn't, at the end of the day, deliver on all fronts. So I was a little bit disappointed at the end of the day. It's not the best rom-com or the best rom-dram I've seen. And unfortunately, I think the movie would have done a lot better if Dakota Johnson, was, I guess, a more charismatic actress. It's a great script. She just doesn't do a whole lot to elevate it. And that's unfortunate, because it's you could see Chris Evans and Pedro Pascal when they're on screen, they're doing their darndest to carry the movie. And they do a great job with what they've been given the material. Dakota Johnson, not so much. And Celine Song, of course, did her best, I guess. But, she's doing the best with the pieces that she's given. Unfortunately, I think Dakota Johnson maybe not the best piece of the puzzle there. So, yeah, that's, I would say, maybe was the ultimate weakness of the movie. It's a good movie. You're not going to, waste your time like the National Treasure Indiana Jones ripoff, Fountain of Youth. I want my 2 hours of my life back from that movie. This, on the other hand, I'm okay, it was a good time at the movies. I enjoyed it. Maybe 9 out of 10 times I wouldn't go see that movie if I had the choice between that and everything else that was playing. But it was a fun time. I enjoyed it. So overall, not bad, fairly forgettable. And yeah, I wish I wish they just had gotten a different person for the lead role. Unfortunately, I don't think Dakota Johnson's the right fit for that. Yeah. Kind of sad about Dakota Johnson, because Melanie Griffith and Don Johnson are fantastic actors, Monique. Exactly. But you know what? Then again, maybe she just hasn't found the right script yet. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe Dakota Johnson just needs the right story, and this just wasn't it. So Yeah, exactly. Just goes to show you, like Enterprise is saying, the right projects elevate an actor. The wrong ones can make them seem worse than they really are. Exactly. There we go. Dan, are you getting Superman merch for the setup behind you? Yes, I will be. I definitely will be. I mean, Black Panther and Spider-Man need some Superman back there. So, how bad was Fountain of Youth? Would 1 out of 10 be exaggerating the goodness in the movie? Yes. I think it was probably a negative 1 out of 10 at times. Isa Gonzalez was the only redeeming factor of that movie because she seemed to be the only person who did a good job with the material she was given. Everybody else phoned it in, including, of all the people, Natalie Portman, John Krasinski. Natalie Portman, Oscar-winning actress. Domhnall Gleeson. God, that movie was terrible. But anyway, guys, let me know in the comments down below what you thought about Materialist. Did you go see it? Did you enjoy it? I did not have the best time. I had a good time, but I wasn't blown away by the movie. So again, like I said, it's a middle of the road film, and I wouldn't go see it if I had the choice in 9 out of 10 times, but I went and saw it, enjoyed it. It was okay. Okay, I think in one word is Materialist. But you let me know in the comments what you thought about the movie. Right now, we're going to keep the ball rolling. Sorry, I'm butchering my words here, but we have to talk about the Naked Gun trailer. The Naked Gun movie that is coming out soon has, of course, Liam Neeson in it, which the first trailer dropped at around CinemaCon because they did show a lot at CinemaCon. The movie looked amazing. The first trailer sold me already. So even if they didn't give me a second trailer, I would have been like, that is amazing. I just want to see the movie now, like give it to me, injected in my veins. But they did give us a second trailer, John, and this trailer dropped over the weekend. It's got Liam Neeson in it. Of course, we get a lot more Pamela Anderson in this one. It's a new reboot, of course, but they do address the previous iterations in a very meta way.
It's more a continuation than anything, but yeah.
You saw this, I saw it, and we both had an amazing time. In fact, I delayed the start of the show to watch this trailer because I was like, I do not want to talk about this without having actually seen it. And I made a really good choice, I got to tell you, John. What did you think about the overall trailer? This one, again, goes into more of the story of the movie. It has some of the same sequences from the previous teaser trailer. And also, you get the same song, of course, just underlaying the trailer in a way that, quite frankly, again, I'm just like, when is this movie coming out? Can it be out this weekend? I want to go see it now. What are your reactions and thoughts on this trailer? Did it further your hype for the movie? Or are you now less excited for this new Naked Gun film?
No, I'm just as excited. I mean, I don't like some of the more, like, lowball humor. Poop jokes are not my... Fart jokes are hilarious. Poop jokes, too far. But for the most part, I think this looks really funny. I think it nails a lot of what the original films did, like that sort of like deadpan kind of humor. And I think it really nails the but like doing deadpan, like the interactions between characters are very deadpan, but then at the same time you're doing like the over the top kind of sort of like the over the top kind of like ridiculous kind of humor. I think it nails it. I think having someone like Seth MacFarlane works. But like honestly, it does kind of like, I will say it is kind of funny because he's like, I don't like how it's filmed, like sort of like found footage, body cam footage, but I get the joke. And he's like going lengths to go to that. I'm like, all right, that's like kind of funny, but even then, not a huge fan. But like, not every joke is gonna land. And then you have
like he's like man's laughter. He's like, must have been a good joke. You mean manslaughter? No, I'm like, that's great. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
that's this kind of humor.
That's the point, though. Liam Neeson, like. The whole point, it was like Leslie Nielsen was a serious actor before Airplane.
Yes.
Like that was why it was so funny. You were getting all of these like Lloyd Bridges and like George Kennedy and all these guys who were serious actors who were treating the material like it was serious, and that's what made it funny. Now this is a little bit more comedy driven, a little bit more tongue in cheek, but I think it's still like the Spirit Halloween joke. That's a good gag. I don't care what anybody said. That's a fucking great gag right there. And I think I think Liam Neeson, like perfect casting for this sort of thing. And then you got Stingray from Cobra Kai. I think that's Danny Houston. You have Kevin Durand. Yeah, Pamela Anderson. Like the chair joke, perfect. Why don't you take a chair? Literally takes the chair, perfect. It's just like it's so God.
Like this bank looks something straight out of the Dark Knight.
Is it going to be the greatest comedy ever? And is it going to be as good as those? I would say the first two Naked Gun movies, for like any of the original Zaz productions. No, it's never going to be as funny. However, the fact that they're actually trying to do like an actual comedy movie is saying a lot, because like, as who said it, like Enterprising and Monique, like comedies aren't really being made because it's always mixed in with somebody else, like a rom-com or action comedy. Those are the only times like comedy movies are really made. Like even like Bride Hard, that's like an action comedy. Like you're still there's no straight comedies anywhere. There's no like where it's the comedy is just that's the forefront, that's the main thing. So
I mean,
it's nice to see that, and it's nice to see like a callback to those ridiculous 80s comedies, like, but it's still like modernizing it, but also like making fun of it's like this is probably the closest we'll get to a 23 Jump Street, probably.
Oh dude, I know, right? Oh God, yes. I mean, Happy Gilmore
comedies is another one. That's another one. Maybe the old school comedy is going to make a comeback, because Happy Gilmore 2 looks pretty good too. Like you have the classic. I mean, that's straight up an Austin Powers joke right there. Like that was like, you know, like Horrible Bosses, like the whole like it's perfect. It's amazing. And I love this like resurrection of Pamela Anderson. Good for her. Like, because like now she's not slathered with makeup and like showing off her tits all the time. She's like, oh no, I can actually like act in different things. So it's like, that's great to see. And then you do have that kind of like boomer humor a little bit, like, oh, look at the old guy trying to drive the electric car. Ha 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 ha. It does that. Like some of the jokes don't land, but I think most of them do. You have the whole scene from the original trailer where it's like, your ass. And like, you know, it's just amazing. And it's just like, it's nice to see Liam Neeson not in a fucking Taken ripoff, because it's like, that's the only thing he's been doing for the past like 20 years.
You know what? That's probably the most refreshing part of this whole thing, is the fact that you watch, and Liam Neeson does deadpan humor really well. So I really am looking forward to seeing how he does with this movie, because that's literally what this movie is entirely about. And then they put out this poster, which I'm like, okay, like I know Liz saw this and posted about it. I was like, yep, this is if this trailer didn't sell you, but this poster certainly should, because I love the poster. Liam Neeson, the Naked Gun. Look out, crime. He's fully armed.
This is literally a reference to Octopussy. So like, you know, that's a nice little like homage right there.
Although again, a lot of people won't get that reference, but the right audience might. So like, again, the target audience for this movie, I don't quite know like if they're going for a younger crowd or not, but if you're a fan of movies like Airplane, if you're a fan of the original Naked Gun movies, even if you're a fan of the 21 Jump Street movies, like this is that, and hopefully more of it. Like, I mean, we got Happy Gilmore, one of you guys mentioned, like Be Positive saying that's coming out later this summer. I hope the return of the comedy is where we're getting to, because we need more laughter in our lives, and hopefully more laughter at the movie theater. And I hope that while this movie, again, the franchise itself might not be targeting, because again, if you remember the Naked Gun movies, you're probably on the older side. When I say on the older side, I'm not saying like 60, 70, 80, you know, you just have to be like 30 or above to remember the franchise. Whereas I hope a new, younger audience can go and maybe discover this and say, you know what, this was great. Now I want to go back and watch the Frank Durbin movies as well. And I'm looking forward to it. I mean, Spaceballs 2 just got announced, like Be Positive 99 saying. So we hopefully will be getting more movies like this. And maybe the spoof comedy is back, guys. Let us know in the comments down below what you thought about the new trailer for a new poster as well for, of course, The Naked Gun with Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson. This movie looks amazing to me. I can't wait to see it. But what about you? Do you want to go see it? Did you enjoy the trailers? Have you loved the posters and all the marketing? Let us know in the comments down below. Of course, we do have to now talk about a few other things. We are getting closer and closer to more of that James Gunn interview. But right now, we're going to start things here with another box office projection. So we talked about Superman box office projections not too long ago. But we now have new numbers for Fantastic Four's opening weekend box office. And it's coming to us through Box Office Theory. But I'm pulling up this article here and, the movie website. And they put together a nice summary. And, well, John, as it looks like Fantastic Four, the Fantastic Four first steps, they are on track for the biggest opening of any Fantastic Four movie in the history of the franchise. And it's looking pretty gosh darn good, at least by these early projections. So what they're saying here, and through Box Office Theory, their report said, on the low end, you should expect 125 million. On the high end, you should expect 155 million at the opening weekend for the box office. Now, this is still the long range forecast, so we don't quite know the exact numbers. But remember, John, it wasn't long ago that we talked about how Fantastic Four broke the first day sales record for Fandango for the highest amount of tickets sold in pre-sales. That record later on just recently got smashed by Superman. So of course, it's not the highest of the year, but they did hold that for a little while. And we know it's a Marvel, like MCU Marvel movie now. So do you think that's what's driving that number to be as high as 125 to 155 million? Because when you look at the previous Fantastic Four movies, all three of them came nowhere close to that. The first original Fantastic Four made 56 in its opening weekend. The Silver Surfer, the Rise of the Silver Surfer, the sequel, made 58, so just modestly more. Then the Fantastic Four with the Miles Teller and everybody else, the Fan-4-Stick movie, as they call it, made only 25.6 million. So compared to all three of those, this movie, if you combine all three of those numbers, could do more than all three of them combined did at the opening weekend. Are you surprised by that?
I think it is because, yes, they do have the MCU behind them, even though it isn't kind of an Elseworld story. It's its own world, blah, 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 all that stuff. Here's the thing. We've talked about many times on the show how there's no star power anymore. And yes, Pedro Pascal is America's sweetheart. Yes. However, I don't think he's enough, or even Vanessa Kirby or Joseph Quinn, or the idea of Fantastic Four is going to bring that amount of money in, especially when people seem to be a little bit more dodgy when it comes to Fantastic Four. Now, I'm not saying like, oh, it's going to fail. I just don't think it's going to be the big moneymaker that, it's going to be. Like, I think it'll make like maybe 100 million in the first weekend. I think it'll still make a lot. But however, this is based on, pre-sales and all that stuff. And, we do have that. So the tracking makes more sense than like pulling a number out of your ass. So like maybe it is more so going to be on this, but we'll have to wait and see. Remember, it's all algorithms and stuff. Sometimes that shit fails. So we are just going to have to wait. But I don't think it'll make as much. But again, my predictions have been way off nowadays. So it's like, oh, I think it'll be this. And then it just torches. So I do think that it's going to be a big opening. I don't know if it's going to be the biggest opening of the year, but it's going to be a big opening. Just not as big as, like maybe a little bit off, like 100 to 105 million. Still a shit ton of money. But I think Superman is going to make more because it's just the marketing has just been through the roof for Superman, and he's more recognizable than Fantastic Four. And like his movies have gotten more recognition than Fantastic Four. Like they've been making Superman movies since the 70s. Well, the first Fantastic Four movie was 2005. So,
Yeah. I mean, it's also, you look at it here, this is the Box Office Theory projection, 6 weeks out. You look at Fantastic Four, they're looking at that 125 to 155 million. They're predicting that it will finish up somewhere between 277 and 395 million. So that's a big range. It will depend again on how well it starts off, how well people, appreciate it or don't like it, quite frankly. So the audience reception will matter. And then when we look at the Superman projections, they're looking at somewhere between 140 to 185 million. So 140 to 185, both of those numbers are obviously higher than 125 to 155 for Fantastic Four. So Superman's still tracking for a much higher number. Jurassic World Rebirth, according to Box Office Theory, probably starting at 70 to 80 million, which would be on the lower end compared to some of the recent openings they've had in that franchise. When you look at the overall performance, though, John, yeah, Superman clearly racing out to the highest number, but could finish as much as 510 million domestic, which if it finishes 510 domestic Superman, that means it's probably made $1 billion, because I guarantee you it will make as much or not, if not more, worldwide, especially internationally. Like if it probably be an even 50-50 more or less split, where if it makes a $500 million in the domestic box office, Superman probably makes at least another $500 million, if not more, worldwide, therefore making more than $1 billion. Fantastic Four, if it tops out at 395 million overall, then you're still probably looking at close to $1 billion, depending on how well it does internationally. So both movies looking at pretty good numbers, but Fantastic Four especially, 125 to 155. This far out, based on the pre-sale tickets, it's a good number. That will by far and away be the biggest number for the Fantastic Four franchise ever. The last 3 movies never got anywhere close to that. So that's good. And then, John, we talked about the knock-on effect, right? The idea that if Superman does really well, and does make, let's say, on the high end of this projections, which is the 185 million, that people will be more likely to go see Fantastic Four. And we're not talking the hardcore fans. The hardcore fans are going to go see it no matter what. We're talking about the general audiences, which are like, I enjoyed the last superhero movie, so I'm going to go see another one because I had a good experience. Because there are people out there who don't really care if it's Marvel or DC. They just want a good,
Although, to be fair, most of the Superman movies suck. And the only reason that like the old Fantastic Four movies have been getting any traction is because of nostalgia bait. But like that's kind of it. So
right. But I mean, hey, you know what? Still, Fantastic Four getting off to 125 to 155 million start at the box office would be great for the franchise. It would be great for Marvel. It would mean that Thunderbolts did the job that it needed to do to help build up excitement for what's to come. And of course, I'm sure we're probably going to get more teases, maybe another trailer, and we'll get to maybe find out like whether Dr. Doom is actually in the movie or not, or if they save it for the movie itself, then opening weekend might be great. But if people are like, oh my God, Doomsday is in this, or Dr. Doom is in this, I should say, then we will go back and go see the movie again and again. So we'll just have to wait and see, but early projections are pretty good. Let us know in the comments down below, guys, what you think about that. Or do you think 125 to 155 million at the domestic box office opening weekend is too big of a number, or do you think that is right in the range where you thought it would be? So let us know in the comments what you think about it. Right now, we have to move on to the Quick Hits part of the show. So we're going to bring in that Quick Hits music, shall we? We're bringing that Bossa Nova elevator music. Let's dive into the Quick Hits because, of course, we do have to get into a little bit more news, but we want to do it Quick Hits style because that's the most fun style. John, the very first thing in Quick Hits today, Warner Brothers is rumored, according to Thwipt, which is another insider out there. Usually the insiders are giving out these scoops and they're negative. This one seems to be positive because Warner Brothers Discovery, that is, the entire company as a whole, is very happy with Superman. Do you think this one is on the money, or do you think this is a whole lot of, hullabaloo that we shouldn't even care about?
Never believe anything, even if it's positive.
Well, I mean, hey, the marketing looks great. The fact that they could be spending up to 200 million certainly is a vote of confidence that Superman might be good. Speaking of Warner Brothers Discovery, of course, they just reworked the CEO pay, so David Zaslav might not be very happy about that. They reduced his salary by quite a bit, it looks like. His massive compensation package, of course, was symbolically voted down at the previous shareholders meeting. So his new deal equals basically less cash, more risk. What do you think, John?
Good. Fuck him.
Fair enough. Of course, he recently, has devised a plan to just split the company in half after trying to put everything together into like one big Warner Brothers Discovery family. So, yeah. But I mean, look, they're on a bit of a winning streak right now, Warner Brothers, and hopefully DC Studios starts their own with Superman. But hey, the Jaws franchise looking to start a new winning streak of their own because they have now got a streaming debut for all the Jaws movies. As the 50th anniversary approaches, you will be able to watch all 4 movies online. They will begin streaming on June 15th, so you can go check those out on Peacock exclusively. Also later this year, John,
you shouldn't just watch the first one and that's it. But
I'm just saying, it's on August 29th through September 4th. you will be able to see the original Jaws movie back in a movie theater near you. It's going to get a re-release in theaters nationwide. So are you excited for that? I mean, they're also releasing all this merchandise and collectibles as part of it.
I'll try my best to see it. Obviously, you know, we'll see how it goes, but I'm gonna try and see the film because Jaws is phenomenal. So, you know, celebrate 50 years.
Yeah, I agree with you. I can't wait to see this in a big, movie theater screen, because I personally have never seen Jaws on the big screen. So I would like to see what that experience was
neither
like.
have I.
So yeah, I mean, hopefully we get a chance to do that. Yeah, I mean, look, David Zaslav had made a lot of tough decisions, Monique. But I do agree with you, Caleb. The first one was probably the best one, as John is saying there. The sequels kind of go downhill. But hey, Daniel RPK recently was reporting, another Hollywood scooper, saying that Destin Daniel Cretton, who's directing the upcoming Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland, the fourth one, Brand New Day, comes out next year. He, of course, also directed Shang-Chi. He at one point was rumored to be directing one of the Avengers movies before the Russo brothers came back. Now, Daniel RPK is saying that he's reportedly developing a new Marvel television series for Disney+. What do you think that could be? Do you care about what it might be? Destin Daniel Cretton, of course, one of the big powerhouse names that Marvel has in their portfolio right now.
It's weird how he's the go-to guy now. Like, I mean, I know Shang-Chi was like pretty good for people, but it's just weird how he's like, if this is true, they're like going to him for everything. I'm like, okay, all right, sure. I mean, good for him.
He's also been behind the Wonder Man show, so I mean, he's already done a series.
I know he was part of the. I know it's not part of the MCU, but he was also part of Tokyo Vice. I think he directed a couple episodes of that. So I mean, he's on the up and up. I've heard his indie movies are really good. I haven't seen Shang-Chi, so I can't judge on that. I heard it was. Some people said it was really good. Other people said it was like, yeah, it was fine. So
I love Shang-Chi. I thought it was one of the best things they've done since Endgame. But yeah.
That's a low bar. But you know, I hope he does good things. I hope he does like really great things with this, and he's getting rewarded for it. I don't believe this because, you know, I have an ongoing arch nemesis relationship with every scooper on planet Earth, so
yeah. Well, look, I will say that Shang-Chi is one of the best things Marvel has done, period. Not just since Endgame. It is one of the better movies, especially. And then Wonder Man, I mean, we'll see how good that is. Destin Daniel Cretton will be one of the producers, on that one. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how good that ends up being, and then we'll see if maybe it's a Young Avengers thing, like Ray J suggesting. We'll just have to wait and find out. He's, of course, got his fingers in a lot of different pies over at Marvel. So moving on to the next thing, James Gunn, of course, was talking to the Rolling Stones recently. We're gonna continue that conversation later on in the show, but apparently he mentioned that he was offered a Batman movie back in the day before he led the new DCU. He potentially could have made a Batman movie in 2018. John, are you surprised by that? Of course, this seems to be around the same time that he made the Suicide Squad, and then of course he went back to Marvel to work on the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. But would you have liked to see a Batman movie from James Gunn instead?
Honestly, it would have been very interesting. I don't know if I can see it. However,
that sounds like a plan, Steven.
It's interesting. I'll just say that it's interesting because I don't know how to feel about this. I read that like a couple times in the article, so I'm like, huh. All right. Okay.
I for one would have liked to see what he does. That would be one of the darker things that he ever has worked on. But then again, he's done Trauma and stuff, so I'm sure he can, handle a movie that's a bit on the dark side. But yeah, we'll see. I guess there's still a possibility if he does a World's Finest movie. But John, speaking of Batman, of course, riddle me this, riddle me that. Who's afraid of the big black bat? A lot of alliteration there. The Riddler, 30 years ago to almost to the day. In 1995, that's a big year for me personally. 1995, June 16, 1995, 30 years ago, Batman Forever was released in theaters, of course, with the great and late Val Kilmer playing the Dark Knight. This is, I know, one of your favorite movies in terms of the Batman lore as a whole. Nicole Kidman has famously said that she signed up for that movie to kiss Val Kilmer, of course. And then we got Chris O'Donnell's Robin introduced in there. What are your thoughts on 30 years now having passed by since Batman Forever came out?
I think,
and Tommy Lee Jones, of course, Two-Face. You can't talk about that without that.
yeah, and then Kiss from a Rose by Seal. Anyway, you know, I think it's not a perfect movie, but I mean, Jim Carrey is a lot. Two-Face is even worse with Tommy Lee Jones.
They were in two different movies. They just didn't know it.
Nicole Kidman, I think, was an interesting love interest for Batman. And I liked the arc here for Batman. Like, a buddy of mine who knows, again, way more comics than I ever could, he said this is probably the closest we would ever get to a proper Bronze Age Batman. So I felt I think that's interesting to note. I think Val Kilmer did a wonderful job. I think he did a good job as both Batman and Bruce Wayne. And not the most perfect of both, but I think he's probably been one of the better ones. And it just had a lot of like philosophical stuff that unfortunately got impeded by what Warner Brothers wanted to do, and they wanted a safe, marketable kids film. And Joel Schumacher tried his best to put as much as he could in this movie, and for the most part, I think it worked. I think it got through, but we need to see that Schumacher's cut, WB, motherfuckers. Let's see it. Let's see it. No, it's I can't sanction your buffoonery. Yeah. I will say no. Be positive. Be positive. The chicks dig the car. Wrong movie. I know that was Batman and Robin, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah. The chicks dig. This is why Superman works alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yep.
We've been kind of sprinkling it throughout, but like we'll talk about it much more later.
Yes, absolutely.
But I think this is the closest we ever got to like having like an actual Batman movie, like a Batman movie being about Batman, because Batman 89 and Returns and Robin and the Dark Knight movies, it was all about the villains. It's always about the goddamn villains. This was like actually about Batman
Bruce
movie.
And Batman.
So yeah.
Frankie G saw it in the theater. His first movie.
Because I choose to be. You know, great stuff.
Well, dude, Frankie G saw this. It was his first movie in a movie theater, first Batman movie in a movie theater, and he walked out disappointed. Let us know, Frankie. Why do you think you were disappointed? Was it because of the campiness of it, or because there was a lot of tonal differences between how Batman was so dark, and then you had Jim Carrey's Riddler, and it just felt like there were like three different movies in one. But I mean, we did get Nicole Kidman, so that was a lot of you guys, I'm sure, enjoyed that part of it, and she of course enjoyed being in the movie. We talked about that a long time ago. But yeah, so many Superman. Yeah, I mean nowadays there are so many superhero movies that these don't tend to rank very high, but in the Batman lore at least, 30 years ago, Batman Forever came out in June 16th, 1995. And yeah, Frankie G said he was expecting Batman the Animated Series, and he liked the darkness as a kid. So yeah, you know what, was it better than Batman Returns? I don't know, John. That's a relative opinion. I personally enjoy it more than Batman Returns myself. I remember growing up having VHS tapes of both, and I enjoyed Batman Forever more than I did Batman Returns. Look at all the guys, so many wonderful toys. Okay. Yeah, so many good memories. But John, this isn't oh wait, Enterprising saw it in 4 or 5. He was 4. Wow. Okay, Enterprising saw this in a theater too. There you go. Great, good stuff. All right, guys. Well, so many good memories from the world of Batman, because this isn't the only movie that's celebrating an anniversary. Batman Begins is celebrating a 20-year anniversary. Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins. Frankie G, if you didn't like the fact that it wasn't very dark watching a Batman Forever, maybe you like Batman Begins when that came out now 20 years ago. A new era in superhero cinema basically kicked off with this movie, because of course, if you guys remember when Batman Begins was released, I still have the art of the movie book. I have this movie in like physical media. this was, for me, as having seen all the movies from the 80s and 90s, to me, this changed everything. This movie, more so than any other movie. I know Kevin Feige likes to talk about how, you know, Superman, the original 1978 Superman, influences his approach to doing superhero origin stories. I think the MCU as a whole functionally was largely influenced by the tone of the Dark Knight trilogy, which of course started out with Batman Begins, you know, with like the origin story of Bruce Wayne becoming Batman was done in a way that I think was never quite done ever before. And then from there on, the Dark Knight completely turns it up to the next level, and the Dark Knight Rises again, even turning it up more in terms of the scale of the movie. I love this trilogy. I think this is the greatest movie trilogy of all time, in my opinion. Is the best Batman trilogy of all time. It also came at a time that, you know, there were two young Chris's in the world. You had Christopher Nolan coming off of Memento, and what was the other one that he did? It was Memento, and there was an Insomnia, and then you had Christian Bale coming off the American Psycho, and the two of them coming together to make magic. I mean, everything had a reason. The only thing that was unrealistic in this movie was like how a microwave emitter would, you know, evaporate all the water in the city. But it's like, if that's the one ask that you have, the rest of the movie was fantastic. John, how do you remember this 20 years ago now?
Honestly, I don't really remember a lot of Batman Begins. I saw it so long ago that, like, I'm not sure if I could have like an accurate like opinion on it, because it's just like I have not seen it in a long time. But from what I remember, I liked it. I didn't love it, but yeah, I mean, I like the suit here better than in the sequel because it looks more like a Batman suit. I just hate how the neck looks. I understand they wanted to do it because they had a movable neck. I understand that, but like, it just looks terrible to me, you know.
That's a fair point, Caleb. There is only one Batman trilogy, I guess that's true. But still, this is the best superhero trilogy ever made, I think. Better than anything that Marvel has done. I think the Iron Man movie in 2008 was influenced by the Nolan trilogy. Absolutely, it was. When this movie came out, Steven, I was still a pretty young kid myself, so very early influence for both of us. Be Positive saying 1989 is the best one for him. Yeah, the Batman Begins voice is definitely like, you know, like something that is memified to the end degree. And I still, you know what, make fun of it all you want. I can watch him say "swear to me" and like, you know, like all of those things all day long. I love it. Oh, David Goyer celebrating the 20th anniversary. I did not see that, Hosea. You know what? I will go find that. That sounds very interesting. David Goyer talking about it. He was a big part of the Nolan trilogy. So yeah, I mean, Hollywood just was trying to convince exactly watchers. People in Hollywood were trying to convince themselves as well as the general audiences that superhero movies could be taken seriously on the big screen. And while Blade did a good job of bringing in a niche audience, and Spider-Man, the Raimi Spider-Man, Sam Raimi Spider-Man was still more like, you know, a little elevated in the sense that it was a little more campy and comic booky. The X-Men movie starts off, you know, in the concentration camps in World War II. That one kind of raised the profile, but it still had these very, you know, like comic booky elements, like, you know, you had Nightcrawler and stuff. Whereas when you get to this Batman trilogy, everything is as grounded as it can be. And yeah, I just hope that, you know, we get to see more movies of this quality moving forward. I mean, even if they aren't grounded, movies don't have to be grounded to be good. So
right.
Yeah, I know Watcher's not your favorite, but I personally still enjoy it. Anyway, let's keep the ball rolling here. Beyond just the Batman movies, of course, we have to talk about some Marvel. Vision Quest, it will reportedly follow White Vision as he travels to Madripoor in search of his lost memories and humanity. Along the way, he encounters Ultron, but now in human form. This is from again from Scooper Daniel RPK. John, do you believe this is exactly what that show is going to be about, or and even if it is, do you think this is a good idea for a show?
I mean, it's definitely interesting, and I trust Terry Matalas, I think his name is. Like, he made
Terry Matalas is great. Yes.
Like, I mean, the dude has made a lot of great shows, was a part of a lot of great shows, and like also like made Picard good, which nobody thought was possible. So there's that. So I think that could definitely be an intriguing show, especially if they allow like deep existential themes, like what was kind of promised towards the end of WandaVision.
I don't know if Elizabeth Olsen's in the show. actually.
I don't
but-
know if having Ultron there would be great, because I feel like Ultron, as much as I love Age of Ultron, it's my favorite Avengers movie, I think he was sort of a little bit wasted, kind of sort of tiny bit. I feel like he should have been a much bigger villain. And so designating him to an even smaller role in this, especially in human form, I don't know how the hell they would make that work. So, but I like the first part of it. I like the idea of coming to grips, kind of like RoboCop a little bit. Like, you know, a guy gets his humanity stripped away from him and he has to get it back.
Yeah.
And so that I think that would be a very good
I was gonna say
storyline.
The concept is great, especially because they might even bring back what was the name? Emily Van Camp played the Agent Carter's niece. Forget what her
Sharon Carter.
I think she's meant to be maybe be part of this as well, because where they last left her off, unless they're still saving her for the Armor Wars show or movie. But then I think James Spader is coming back, so maybe we'll get James Spader in the human form of Ultron, which would be nice. I mean, he's a great actor. Agent 13, exactly. Thank you, Watcher. We'll have to just wait and see. I guess this is a good concept at least. But hey, John, speaking of good concepts, Pedro Pascal's got a number of new movies coming out this year, the next year, and the year after that. He's very busy. And now, there's that whole thing about if you can go and buy yourself tickets to entire Pitbull lookalike contests and shows. Now, apparently, Pedro Pascal himself, the star of Materialists, as well as upcoming Fantastic Four movie and all the Avengers movies, he himself has quite a few fans, including a lot who look just like him. And these are just some of the best moments from Pedro Pascal's lookalike contest that took place in New York City over the weekend. This guy here, Pedro number 5, I think took the cake, and rightfully so, because other than maybe needing a bit more coverage on the dome, I think the rest of it is all there. He looks like Pedro Pascal. I don't know, John, what do you think? I found this and I just couldn't not include this in Quick Hits.
I don't know. This is definitely very funny. I like the guy who they picked because I think it worked. It would have been funny if they did the thing where it was Pedro Pascal actually joined in.
I know,
and
right?
He didn't win. Kind of like what happened with Dolly Parton and Charlie Chaplin and all these other people that join these contests and then they don't win.
I'm like, look, this clip, if you squint, you're like, that is Pedro Pascal. That is literally him. That is Daddy. That's Pedro. Because I saw all these other guys, I'm like, no, nobody gets close to Pedro number 5. He's the best one. He is. That might actually be Pedro Pascal himself. You don't know. He can pull that off. I totally believe that. Anyway, John. Okay. You know how HBO Max removed a number of classic episodes of Looney Tunes from the service? Apparently now the Looney Tunes are getting a new physical release on Blu-ray. So if you are a fan of the franchise and you're like, where did all those episodes go? You could go get yourself a Blu-ray collection of the Looney Tunes. Are you excited about that?
Yeah, could be. I mean, I don't know if I would probably buy it just for the idea of having it, having your own archive of it. So yeah, I think that would be nice to have. But also, things cost money, and I don't have a ton of it, so we'll see.
I mean, look, Looney Tunes as a box office franchise probably is no longer viable, but if you are a fan of the classics, you can still, go get them on Blu-ray, because at least now if you don't have them on streaming anywhere, you can go get yourself a copy. I personally am very interested in this. You guys can probably look up some details for that in your own time. But right now we got to talk about Carla Gugino joining Brad Pitt and Cliff Booth movie. This is the spin-off or the continuation of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So this is David Fincher's directing it from a Quentin Tarantino script, and now joining Brad Pitt in the Cliff Booth character, of course, namesake of the movie, is Carla Gugino. So this, of course, is going to be on Netflix. John, are you excited about this? The Adventures of Cliff Booth by David Fincher?
I mean, Carla Gugino's great, so hell yeah. But it's just weird how it's David Fincher was like this guy who like was this like illustrious filmmaker in the 90s and 2000s, and now he's doing a spin-off of like the man was like attached to do World War Z 2 and then like something, and then he wants to like remake every Alfred Hitchcock movie. It's like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Like, David Fincher, you're like better than this. Like, I understand. Will this be a good movie? Of course, it'll be a great movie. The Killer was amazing, but like, I mean, The Killer. I mean, the last like 4 like Netflix movies that he's worked on have been great. Maybe with the exception of Mank, but like Mindhunters was apparently great. I don't know. I couldn't make it through the first episode. I have heard like, you know, a lot of the stuff he's worked on has been fantastic. I didn't really care for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I thought it was okay. The ending was phenomenal. Like, that was easily the best part of the movie. But I think she's a great addition. It's just weird how David Fincher's doing these projects, but like, go off, I guess. If you're enjoying it, then by all means, but just an interesting turn of events, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, give me Carla Gugino and anything and everything, because she's always done a great job with any project she's been handed, whether it's a small role or a big one. He hasn't done the greatest movies. I think she's had her pick and of the movie, but she's had some really memorable, you know, takes. Like, I think she was in the Watchmen movie, right? Obviously Sin City, but then she's done some not so memorable ones. But like, there was the big disaster movie. She's done a few of them with The Rock. None of them were particularly good. But yeah, she would be great in this. She was in the Spy Kids franchise, of course. Joining Carla Gugino and Brad Pitt is Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who's going to be in Wonder Man. He was in Aquaman. Elizabeth Debicki, of course, we all know her from the Guardians movie. She's in many different things, including, of course, Tenet with Christopher Nolan, and Scott Conn of all the Oceans movies, and I think the Hawaii Five-0, the rebooted version on TV. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how this turns out. It's a Quentin Tarantino script, and David Fincher is directing. Other casting news and greenlit and, you know, news, we have Agatha Christie detectives Tommy and Tuppence getting a modern makeover in a new BritBox TV series. Sean, I don't know if you're a fan of BritBox, but they're making a new Tommy and Tuppence show based on Agatha Christie's crime-fighting couple returning to the small screen, rather. 6-part series on BritBox. I
mean, I don't have I had BritBox for a little bit because that was the only way I could watch Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. So I never watched anything else on the streaming service. I mean, I've heard it's a good streaming service. They have some good stuff, but good for them, I guess. This is cool for the people, I mean, for all 3 fans of this, because I've never heard of this before.
Well,
so
I know a few people who are a fan of BritBox. BritBox is one of those services that is quite frankly underrated, because the British know how to do their 6-part miniseries, and especially just drama in general. British drama for me is great, and I love Agatha Christie stuff, so I know there's going to be an audience for this, and I might even check it out myself. So this looks great. Partners in crime. We'll just have to wait and see how it turns out. Of course, Brad Pitt. Speaking of Brad Pitt, he's doing a lot of promotion right now for the new F1 movie. We just talked about his upcoming Cliff Booth movie. He, of course, recently mentioned that he would love to collaborate with Tom Cruise again, only if he doesn't have to hang off a plane. The 2 movie stars appeared on screen last time in 1994's Interview with, what's the name of that movie here? Let's see, get rid of that there. Interview with the Vampire. They used to go go-karting together after filming. But Pitt recently told E! News that it was so sweet of the Mission Impossible Final Reckoning star to praise the upcoming F1 movie that is helmed by Joseph Kosinski. But when he was asked, would you like to work with Tom Cruise again? He said, well, I'm not going to hang my ass off airplanes and shit like that. So when he does something again that's on the ground, count me in, John. Do you think Tom Cruise will ever do something where he's got his 2 feet firmly planted on the ground again? Or will we never get to see Brad Pitt and, Tom Cruise share the screen again?
I would like to see it. I think that would be great. But yeah, Tom Cruise, be a little bit more grounded next time.
That might be harder than you realize.
Movies? We're getting F1, we're getting F4, where's F2 and 3? No, but I think, I would like to see this. I liked Interview with the Vampire. I know it's like kind of fun to clown on nowadays, but I thought it was a pretty good movie. I recently watched it, like, I think a year or 2 ago. Good stuff. Both are great. I think extremely gay. Like, that is like one of the gayest movies I've ever seen in my life. I'm pretty sure there is gay porn that is less gay than that movie. Anyway, But I would love to see them collaborate again. Just do something that's not, hanging off planes and shit. Although, to be fair, he did hang off the side of a train, Brad Pitt, in Bullet Train. So, like, you're a little bit hypocritical with that. And,
although I have a feeling that was all VFX and not actually him really, doing it. Whereas Tom Cruise, for real, hung off a plane and did that thing like 12 times for however many, 12 takes, I guess. So he recently did like a whole, he broke a record. You know what? Maybe if they do Days of Thunder, like a sequel, maybe they can bring Brad Pitt back in for that one, and the two of them could cross paths there. Especially since, of course, he's already done a Formula One movie. Brad Pitt would have all the experience you need to teach Tom Cruise what he needs to do. Of course, Tom Cruise also did NASCAR, so I mean, Days of Thunder would be probably a NASCAR movie, unless it's like, oh, now he's going over to F1. Anyway. Theory time with Dan. It comes to a close as we get into the next news, John. Theo Rossi, Billy Campbell, and Rosaline Elbe have now boarded a thriller called A Better Place. Theo Rossi, of course, most recently in The Penguin Show. Billy Campbell, Rosaline Elbe. What do you think about this one? They're joining this new movie from Virgo Films.
The Rocketeer. Let's have a Billy Campbell renaissance, guys. Let's go. I don't know what this is, but like, sounds like a sequel to A Quiet Place.
It follows a disgraced deputy.
We're stuck in this quiet place. Where do we need to go? A better place. So I'm just kidding. But I don't know. Maybe could be fun. Could be interesting.
Could be fun. Yeah, could be fun. I will say this: it shows there. It follows a disgraced deputy, his anxious partner, and a sharp-tongued female prisoner who cover up a hit and run, only to spiral into paranoia, greed, and buried secrets that tear them apart. Okay, I can kind of see that vibe. That sounds interesting. We'll have to just wait and see how good it turns out. But yeah. Oh, Elite Easy is here. Hello. He says, I need to see this interview with the vampire movie. You should. It's a great. It's one of those old throwback movies, the kind that clearly Tom Cruise does not do anymore. But I guess if he was to, then Brad Pitt might be interested in working with him again. So, but anyway, John, the Watcher's asking you if you indeed gave him the reference that he thinks you did. But yeah. Good crime thrillers are always welcome. I'm a sucker for a good crime thriller enterprising. But speaking of thrillers, The Pitt Season 2 begins production, and we have a first look photo with the premiere window has now been unveiled. So this is from the Deadline, and they're going to be back shooting on location in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Season 2 will premiere in January 2026, so not that far away, John. You've got this first look at the behind the scenes. They're already filming it in Pittsburgh, and Season 2 coming out really, really fast. This show just finished airing a few months ago, if that, and Season 2 begins in January of next year, kind of like Daredevil Born Again, where they're just pumping them out. So do you think it has a lot to do with
like how TV used to be fucking filmed, guys? Yeah, imagine a TV show where you actually get a season per year. Crazy. I just love how it we just get it. We just had this thing of like overworked actors getting 22 to 24 episodes a year, and then now we get now we're getting 8 episodes every 2 years. If we're getting less episodes, then give us a more frequent basis. That would be great. But I've heard nothing but amazing things about The Pit. Maybe I'll eventually watch it. But yeah, good. Here's the thing. I will say there needs to be a happy medium. I think 10 is a really good. I think 10 is a good number to have. Maybe 13. Netflix.
I want more.
Here's the thing. I think initial Netflix had the perfect, the episode count. 13 episodes was perfect. That was half a season. It was essentially split in half. But you got it every year, and then now it's like I don't mind the British programming where you get 3 episodes, like Sherlock,
6
or something like that.
4 or 6. That's also another.
I know Luther had 3 episodes a series, and I don't mind that. But the thing is, the frequency is what annoys me. I think 13, you can have a couple 2-parters in there, and I think that works.
Yeah, because you don't need a lot of filler. I think 10 to 15
is the perfect amount.
Yeah, 12 to 13, you don't need those. Yeah.
Look at Dark. Dark is the fucking best TV show I have ever fucking seen, and that was 26
I would not agree
episodes.
with you on that, but I mean,
that was 26 episodes in total, and it was like extraordinary. So,
yeah, I hear
I'm
you.
just
I
saying.
still personally look. I agree with Monique. Ronald D. Moore made 22 to 24 episodes a season of Battlestar Galactica, and that to me is probably the best sci-fi show, probably one of the best shows of all time. I mean, Stargate used to do that.
Breaking Bad. That had like 10 to 13 episodes a season. That works.
But it's possible. You know what, though? I think that's a good number, but somewhere between 13 to 24, and like Caleb was saying, how long each episode is, that's going to matter as well. The Watcher saying he's excited for Daredevil Born Again Season 2. He's just going to be aura farming with those badass new costume photos that we saw too. I'll say it again. See what I did there? Badass suit. Yes. The suit in the Daredevil Season 2 behind the scenes photos does look pretty amazing. But you know what, guys? You are amazing because we just finished up the Quick Hits, and thank you so much for taking part in that. We're gonna hit a stop on that music. Yeah, it only took 5 hours, but you know what? We finally got through it, and let us know in the comments down below what was your favorite Quick Hit. Was it the Pedro Pascal lookalike competition? Was it the anniversaries of both Batman Begins 20 years ago now? It came out, as well as Batman Forever 30 years ago. Holy cow. There's a 10-year gap between those two movies. Carla Gugino joining the adventures of Cliff Booth, as well as so many other stories. The Pit Season 2 starting production and coming out in January 2026. Literally less than a year before the first season wrapped up. So let us know which part of the news was your favorite today, and hit that like button while you're here. Hit subscribe if you're new, because we're doing this 5 days a week. Hit the notification bell while you're at it. But right now, we're going to change gears and get into the main event of the evening, as we always do, which is, of course, all about DC. So welcome on in to another episode of DCU Daily. I'm, of course, your host, Dan. We have a lot to talk about today, a lot from James Gunn, a lot of new updates from that Rolling Stones interview, and beyond that, we'll get into a few other things. So to start things off, John, as I always ask you, man, what is your favorite thing that we're going to talk about today from the world of DC?
Oh boy, I'm really interested in that Gunn interview. I mean, that's what we're going to mainly be talking about. I understand. Like, it's like, oh, that's the easy thing. But I'm excited about a lot of things. And I think, but like, it just, there was so much revealed in that interview that I think there's just enough to talk about there that we're probably going to be hitting the 3-hour mark on this one.
Oh, easily. I bet you we will. But you know what? We'll try to keep it engaged. But let's do this, right? So the first thing is Hawkgirl. The character celebrated an anniversary over the weekend, and James Gunn posted about it, as he does for a lot of the DC characters, saying, "You've had a long and storied and, to say the least, complicated history in DC Comics, Hawkgirl has, but it only makes us love you more. I'm excited for people to see Isabella Merced bring you to life in Superman on July 11th. John, what are your expectations for the Hawkgirl character in the new movie? Do you think she'll be one of the standouts and maybe even gets her own spinoff after that?"
I would love to see that. I would love to see her get reunited with Hawkman, because that was like the whole basis of, like, you know, the doomed lovers forced to reincarnate shit. And I would love to see them in a movie together, just like call it like the Hawks or something, or Hawkman and Hawkgirl, whatever it is.
Right.
But I think that would be brilliant. I think that would be great. And maybe fill in the gaps of her eye holes a little bit, and then give her a bit of a better outfit that's not Maxwell Lord related, and we call it a day.
You know, I'm starting to wonder, maybe they aren't just funded by him. Maybe they're just like, it's just advertising. Like, you know, they're just wearing that because it's just, you know, that's Lord Tech sponsored them. I don't know. It's more likely, given what we have seen in the Peacemaker, that they're actually working for Maxwell Lord. But anyway, I just had a theory in my mind for a second, but bring it on, says Plankton. Yes, we are bringing you the DC news, guys. The Justice Gang does look pretty good so far. All right, the next thing, John, we've talked about how some of the flying scenes in this new Superman movie might look a little wonky. Well, one of the VFX supervisors on the new Superman movie just talked about the flying scenes in the film, saying, "We modulate heavily the style of flying and how we film it based on what the moment needs, and the tension or the feelings of Superman for each scene. It's all really driven by the story at each point of the movie." So it looks like they're saying they use a lot of different approaches, which is, you know, to be fair, it looks like when you see all the footage we have seen in the different trailers, the approach is different. Like, he doesn't look the same in all the sequences, especially when you're seeing him from afar away. Sometimes it might be a CG body double. Sometimes they might have actually filmed David Cornsweet himself. You can see the different angles, whether it's that, Adam Warlock angle where you get the fisheye lens effect, or there's different versions of it. It also seems like they're blending in live action plate photography with, CGI more so than ever before.
Agreed.
What are your thoughts?
Yes. By the way, Robert Vendetti's run on Hawkman, excellent. By the way, thank you for mentioning that. I'm not the only one. That was goated. That was great shit right there. Sky Tyrant arc was a little bit off, but outside of that, great stuff. Anyway.
But John, what do you think about what the VFX artist is saying here about how they filmed and how I guess they're portraying Superman's flying scenes in the film?
But I just love how it with this face right here, I know everyone's gonna make fun of it, but it's like the man is I know he's invulnerable and invincible, but he's also flying at Mach 3 speeds. His face is gonna look a little weird. So I can kind of understand the vibe they're going for with that. But everyone's oh, it's the flat. It's no, nothing is gonna get as bad as those Flash Speed Force effects in the movie, because that was just horrendous. They didn't even look like people. Oh, they was specifically supposed to look bad. Okay,
that was bad.
Yeah, sure. That was.
I don't believe that. No. That was just a bad excuse.
A little wonky, but I feel like that's kind of the point, because he's flying really fast, and it's supposed to be kind of realistic that his skin would be blah, 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 going all over the place. So
no, I'm okay with a lot of it. Again, some of the stuff does look a bit suspect, but I guess when the movie comes out, we might not care as much, once we get it within the context of the story that's being told. All right, moving on to the next thing. Of course, Superman director James Gunn, as we've been talking about him all day today, he recently did mention on social media, this is not the Rolling Stones interview, he was just asked about things, hey, what about, if characters die in the world of the DCU? Will they just be brought back by the Lazarus Pit or something? And well, he was, answering that question by saying, look, in the DCU, if you die, you're dead. Sure, the Lazarus Pit exists, but it's not going to be one of those situations where no one stays down forever, which is what the comments was from one of the fans. And James Gunn just saying he was making a big commitment by saying that's count. He responded, mentioning that it's just the way he's always done it, John. Of course, we've seen characters like Phil Coulson die and come back in the MCU, even though I guess it depends on how much you count Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with the larger continuity of the MCU, but there's been other examples of that. But James Gunn did say, look, well, I wouldn't mind using the Lazarus Pit and or resurrection in a story. It would have to be a part of the story itself. It won't be killing me off major characters just to pop them in the old Lazarus Pit to be alive again. What backfire more is people believing there are no stakes and death doesn't mean anything. So dead is dead. What are your thoughts on that, Jim?
Yeah. I think, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, but the comics, they bring people back. Yeah. And that's a problem. They keep bringing people the fuck back when they goddamn should. Literally, they have brought back characters that should have stayed dead, that were integral parts to people's backstories. They're literally bringing Gwen, or have brought her back already, brought Gwen back. They're bringing Gwen Stacy back. They brought Uncle Ben back. They brought the Waynes back. They brought Frank Castle's wife back. And they're bringing back all these. It's you don't need to bring these characters back. You need to just stop and do that. So it's kind of interesting how they're actually going to be no, you're dead. And actually kind of a fucking fuck you to that whole idea of nobody stays dead in comics. And James was no, they're dead. They're dead. Eat a dick. They're dead. So I do hope that if Wally West is the Flash, that Barry Allen is dead, because Barry Allen needs a fucking break. So all hail Wally West. I'm just saying that would be a hell of a lot better than going because there are some things obviously in comics that you need to adapt, but there's other things like this. Do that. Do that, because this is way better.
No, I agree. I think this is the way to go, and I'm glad that James Gunn has this philosophy about the whole, characters dying and coming back, which Yeah, it gives a lot of stakes to the whole franchise and the universe, because what you don't want to have happen is, oh yeah, he died, but it doesn't matter because he might be back tomorrow. Like I think the DCEU made that mistake with Superman. Like, why kill him off so early? Because clearly you needed a Superman for a Justice League movie. Like, they shouldn't have done that. Then it was again another example of Zack Snyder's plans originally weren't quite in line with what they wanted to do with the universe. And even then, I think Zack Snyder just wanted to do that whole resurrection story with Superman way too early. Like, you gotta build that up, especially because that Superman, the people didn't really love him enough to feel like, oh, the catharsis of Superman comes back from the dead when they did that whole Doomsday storyline. So anyway, moving on to the next thing, Rachel Brosnahan recently did an interview saying that actors should stand by their bad superhero movies. John, the Superman star, was pushing back on actors who try to distance themselves from failed projects, saying do it or don't do it and then stand by it, basically saying do or do not. There is no try, kind of like Yoda. She did this in the Interview magazine chat with Amanda Seyfried. Seyfried. Of course, you talked about it as recently as I think a week or two ago, like how Dakota Johnson was talking about that, Madam Web wasn't her fault, but Rachel Brosnahan saying, look, own your shit. Literally, like, either do it or don't do it, but don't just be like, oh, it wasn't my fault. Like, stand by your bad superhero movies. You were there. You took part in it. What are your thoughts on this take from Rachel Brosnahan? Just, I guess, like, calling for more accountability among the actors who take part in the superhero universe as a whole.
I mean, I agree to an extent, because sometimes you just got to make a movie, and who the fuck is Nina? Oh, right.
Nina Mazursky.
Oh yeah, she dead. Okay, now she's dead. No, well, apparently she's dead. She ain't coming back, or unless she, like, isn't actually dead yet, and, like, she's, like, incubating somewhere. Anyway, but I think I agree to an extent. As I said, I agree to an extent, like, obviously, like, sometimes you did a bad movie and you'd be like, I did a bad movie. Sorry. But I feel like, I think what she's saying is, like, not necessarily the bad movies you do, is that the fact that, like, people distance themselves from superhero movies because that's, like, not, like, the thing to do because it's so, like, mainstream and not, like, hang on. Like, the artsy, the, like, sort of artsy fartsy kind of, like, oh, I do serious dramas type thing. I think that's what she was, like, initially saying, but I like, oh, just own it that you did it. But at the same time, like, actors, they need a paycheck, like, because remember, we've said many times on the show, not everybody is an A-list act. You have the top 1% of the 1% that make millions and millions of dollars. Meanwhile, the 99% of actors are working actors that don't make a lot of money. They barely skirt by. They work, like, other jobs and just need the, so, like, I understand, like, Dakota Johnson doesn't need the paycheck for Madam Web. Sydney Sweeney didn't need the paycheck. I get that, and I think that's when you should be like, maybe own it a little bit, but I understand Dakota Johnson at the same time, because it's like, okay, she was part of the process, and she did kind of help with that by not giving it her all, because as the great Sir Christopher Lee said, the trick with bad movies is to not be bad in them. Like, be the best actor you could be. Don't surround yourself with the badness of the movie and just be bad. No, be great in the movie despite this. Work with what you have. But at the same time, I agree with Enterprising. Don't treat the movies like they're beneath you, bad or not. Like, superhero movies in total, like, I don't think it should be, like, oh, this is beneath me, I'm gonna distance myself from it. Like, there was a great interview with, there was a Nicole Kidman's first, we were just talking about Nicole Kidman. Nicole Kidman's first movie was this rinky-dink Australian indie movie called BMX Bandits. Ridiculous little movie, cute as hell, but, like, it was just, like, kind of like one of those, like, kids are the heroes, very, kind of like that. And like on the set of that movie, like a lot of things were going wrong. Nicole Kidman wasn't sure if she should be in it, but like the director saw something in Nicole Kidman and he's like, this chick is going to be a fucking star. And he advocated for her a lot on this movie when her parents were like essentially 1 second away from pulling her out of the movie and pulling the plug. And he's like, no, she has to stick with this because I see something in this kid. And then like 30 years later, after she fucking blew up, she was like, oh yeah, I did this silly, stupid movie when I was a kid. And it was so gross, blah, 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 blah. And the director then was asked, like, what do you feel about that? He's like, well, I was kind of offended because it's like, if it wasn't for you doing this movie, you wouldn't have a fucking career. So it's like, I feel like there are movies that like, Robert Pattinson has said many times, like, I did Twilight for the career move. I don't like those movies, but I did them. But he says, like, I did them. I was part of the problem. I did them, and a lot of people like them. I don't, but now I'm Batman. So, like, so there's that aspect as well. So I think I think it's a lot more nuanced, and frankly, we don't have the time to really get into it.
Yeah.
But I think there is some truth to this in terms of the superhero aspect, not necessarily the bad movie aspect, the superhero aspect, because it's like there were many actors. Thomas Jane is one of them because he famously hates superhero movies, even though he was the Punisher. He famously hates them. Like, that's why he said he would like never come back to them and all that. So like, oh, they're beneath me. It's like, bro, Thomas, like, okay, so you're better than the Punisher, but you're not like beneath like the Predator, which sucked. So it's like, all right, sure, go off, I guess. But there are people that are like, oh, that shit's beneath me. I am a real actor. I don't put on the spandex, blah, 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 blah. It's like, stand by the movies.
Also Ryan Reynolds.
However, there is the idea of actors are usually not the main part of why a movie is bad. I'm not saying like they're like totally clean. As I said, like before, with like some people see the script and like, oh, this is garbage, but I need a paycheck, or this is garbage, but like, this will help further my career, and then just deliver the worst performance you possibly can, which is exactly what happened with something like Madam Web, like Dakota Johnson. Well, I mean, Dakota Johnson is famously not really that good of an actress anyway, but like, even then, she didn't even try, and then she's like, yep, that was none of my fault, which is kind of based a little bit, but like at the same time, you didn't even try. You didn't try to make it good. He did, but it was just a short, and there was like exactly like real cinema. Like everything is cinema. I know it's like everyone's like, oh, it's been, but like there's a whole nuance of this. There's a whole entire conversation to be had in regards to actors, not directors or writers or gaffers or producers or colorists or editors, the actors, what their role is in a movie and what that should be done in terms of hindsight. So it's a lot to be had, but I think if we're talking about the basic idea of like doing a superhero movie and maybe it's bad, stand by your mistakes. You're like, it was a mistake, but like I tried my best. Oh well.
Yeah, I just think like ultimately, yeah, like what she's trying to say here is like, don't try to be above it. Like, like just like yeah, you did a bad movie. People do bad movies all the time. Like actors have good movies on their resumes and bad movies. You can even tell. Like I think we were talking about a story the other day. Some actor was like, you could tell. I think it was Bryce Dallas Howard. She's like, you could tell when the movie's not going to be good. And I'm sure she's not the only one. So I mean, yeah, and Rachel Brosnahan just saying like, look, just stand by it. Like if you did a bad one, like yeah, you could just say it wasn't the best movie, but it was a fun experience, I'm sure. But like, or if it wasn't, you can say that as well. Just don't just like wash your hands clean of it. Of like, I did it once upon a time, I'm above it. Like you did it, you took the paycheck. So some accountability I think would be nice. So I do appreciate where she's coming from, Rachel Brosnahan. Let us know in the comments down below what you guys think about that. Do you think the actors should take more accountability for good and bad superhero movies that they were a part of, as opposed to saying that is beneath me. But now we're gonna move into the main event of the show, which is of course all the stuff that James Gunn talked about in his Rolling Stones interview. You guys know he did this whole tell-all, and well, he did tell quite a bit of things. So John, we're gonna break it up into a few different pieces, but right off the top, I want to get into a little bit of the photography, as it were. Look at that, James Gunn looking snazzy, and he did this incredibly detailed interview with Rolling Stone, where he goes into all the details regarding his philosophies on filmmaking, what he wants the DC you to be like, the DC studios. He talks about his time with Marvel. He also talks about the Zack Snyder fans, who not just the fans, but also the Zack Snyder trolls, like, who are just out there looking to get their Snyderverse back no matter what. And he says you don't want everyone to root for you. And as part of this whole interview, I just loved the photos. This looks like he's just the Don, clearly very Godfather-esque, saying that he's less afraid now to take risks, which again, he's in charge of a whole film studio. So I'm not surprised that as a co-CEO of DC Studios, he's less afraid than ever to take risks and do what he wants to do. And you could really tell the aura farming, as the kids would say, going on here, John. One of the things that he mentioned in this article was that he goes deep on the idea of just a high stakes take on the Man of Steel that he's working on, the future of the DC universe. You read this interview, John. What are your thoughts overall before we dive into all the details? Because we do have a lot of details to get into, such as a crossover with Marvel as well. But overall, your thoughts on this interview? Do you think this gave you a lot more insight into who James Gunn is as a filmmaker today, and even more so as a film executive?
I think it was a very I think it was a very, very intriguing interview. I think we got a lot of information, not just in regards to James Gunn, but in regards to a lot of different things. Like, we got some like Supergirl stuff. We got like his idea of what his legacy should be, what how he stands in relation to like the DC universe, what is and what is going to be, and what he's done in the past and all that. So yeah, exactly. Like, if we're talking about Zack Snyder people, it's the cultists, is how I like to call them, the fanboys, the people that are like refuse to let things go. It's like, it's so funny because it's like Snyder fans are like, you guys can't let Christopher Reeve go. Meanwhile, I'm gonna not let Henry Cavill go because I'm a hypocrite. So it's like, he won't shut up. Jesus Christ. Anyway, but yeah, it definitely picks his brain a little bit. And whoever like cooked with these photographs, goddamn, like you cooked, as the kids would say. You cooked. So I think they did a lot of brilliant stuff here. I think he talked about a lot of really interesting things. Obviously, we're going to get into the bit by bits, but I will say, spoiler, I guess, kind of, sort of, of James Gunn, where he's like, at the end, he had like, the interviewer had a more like existential question, where it was like, so what do you want your like legacy to be? What do you want, like, after you leave this mortal coil? What do you want, like, what do you want it to all be? And then James Gunn has literally said, I don't give a shit. Like, the man doesn't care. Like, as much as like he's passionate, he loves these characters, he loves these things, but it's just like, I love how like he's just, I don't really give a fuck. I just want to be a good dude to my family, friends, and wife. Honestly, that, and like, fuck anybody else. Like, he just doesn't fucking care. Oh god, I love it. It just, that, I feel like it was a very interesting read. It found a lot of interest. You got the Batman thing in there, you got the Supergirl thing in there, you got the You know, he's also said a lot of the same stuff over and over again, a little bit that we've heard before, but it's like I feel like he has to keep reiterating the same stuff over and over again because I feel like people just don't listen. They don't listen, so he has to reiterate. Because so the people that do stories on this, like me and Dan and Liz and Bridget and everyone else here and all the other people that are doing videos on this stuff, we get inundated a lot because it's like we're hearing the same stuff over and over again. But it's like we also do this for a living to like look at every story, while a general audience member does not. So it feels like James Gunn has to keep reiterating himself because either the people don't listen to what he says. Like he addresses stuff in the article where he's like, yeah, there's this controversy of this, that, and the other thing. It's like, who fucking gives a shit? Like, really? You're this upset about it? It's just like, I love how he was like berating people that aren't fans. Like, he's not like, he was like, I love the fans, but these people aren't fans. They just fucking complain about everything. They're not fans, you know, because they're never going to see the movie anyway. We've talked about that. Don't cater to the people that are never going to see your movie. Cater to people that are kind of sort of interested, very interested, and the spectrum in between. Like, you know, just as long as it's not the human centipede, we're okay. You are muted, Dan.
Sorry, I was gonna say let's just dive into it, shall we? We've got a lot of different things to talk about. Now, the very first thing I wanted to get into with this interview is James Gunn talking about how they recently canceled a previously greenlit project.
Yes.
So he said DC Studios just killed a project, and to quote him in particular, he said, yeah, we just killed a project. Everybody wanted to make the movie. It was greenlit, ready to go. The screenplay wasn't ready, and I couldn't do a movie where the screenplay's not good. And we've been really lucky so far because Supergirl's script was so effing good off the bat. And then Lanterns came in and the script was so effing good. Clayface, same thing, so effing good. Now, John, he doesn't say it by name. He doesn't specify. He never actually, quite frankly, announced Sergeant Rock to begin with. That was still hearsay, and they only kind of slightly addressed it at the press event earlier this year. But the speculation is that he's talking about the Sergeant Rock movie because the last we heard from that movie was Deadline said that the project was halted in pre-production and is now eyeing a summer 2026 production start date. So according to Deadline, they were saying that, you know, with the movie potentially starring Colin Farrell in the lead role and directed by Luca Guadagnino, this movie may still be just on the back burner for the time, but not quite killed yet. The Hollywood Reporter, The Wrap, on the other hand, were saying that movie is not moving forward at all. So again, between those reports, we don't quite know if he's talking about Sergeant Rock. So I will just ask you this. Do you think he's talking about Sergeant Rock when he says, we killed a project? We just killed a project. Is that Sergeant Rock, or is it something else? Because he did mention this was something that was previously greenlit. Like, it was greenlit. So just the script wasn't good. So could it be Sergeant Rock, or could it be something else?
I kind of weirdly hope it's Sergeant Rock because I want to see all the other films that were greenlit to happen. Like, I want to see Brave and the Bold happen. And he does mention Batman later on in the article, and he mentions Brave and the Bold by name. So clearly Batman is still on the table. I mean, and we'll get into that later, but he says once again, Batman Part 2 is not canceled. It's not canceled. And that is just slow. Maybe a little bit too slow for my liking.
We will get into that in more detail. But
we'll get into that. I'm just saying Batman was name dropped. And he did say project, so it could be something else. So the two other movies were either The Authority or Swamp Thing. And considering The Authority has been, you know, kind of,
they said they were having trouble with that. They said they slowed down on it because that's the black sheep of all of them. Yeah, but Swamp Thing I could also see getting canceled, but like at the same time, he said we had a script, and I don't think James Mangold has delivered a script yet. So I'm gonna, out of all the movies, the most likely one, the only one that makes sense is The Authority, the one that got killed. But he did say the only reason that I don't think it is, he said it was ready to go. Well, The Authority, he said, was on the back burner. So I don't think it's any of the movies right now, because he confirmed Batman is still in the works. Swamp Thing, I don't think James Mangold. I think
he said it was a project.
No, this is his quote. He said everybody wanted to make the movie. It was greenlit, ready to go. The screenplay wasn't ready. So I couldn't do a movie where the screenplay is not good.
So, okay, so then I feel like Sergeant Rock or Teen Titans are the most likely because those were like kind of sort of essentially greenlit, but the three other ones that were greenlit back in the announcement in 2023,
Right.
none of those make sense because it's like Brave and the Bold, he literally confirmed in the same article.
Right.
And then the two other ones he said are on the back burner, not ready yet. Meanwhile, this one, it says it was greenlit, and the closest thing we got is Sergeant Rock. So Sergeant Rock makes the most sense.
Yeah.
And unless there was another greenlit project we didn't fucking know about.
Yeah, it's not Brave and the Bold
that got canceled.
I mean, it could be Teen Titans, but even that wasn't really greenlit because Ana Aguera, last we checked, was just working on the script. So unless something changed on that behind the scenes. The Watcher saying, I believe Sergeant Rock will eventually get made with a new team later on. This is a movie they will make like after the 7th film of the DCU. Okay. Look, here's what I think, John, because Sergeant Rock was never officially greenlit. So, I mean, James Gunn usually announces that when it is greenlit, so like with a finished script. So I don't know if it's that. I mean, yes, it's the most likely one that you can point a finger at considering how he describes it. Obviously, it's not Clayface. It's not Lanterns. It's not Supergirl. Obviously, Supergirl's already done filming, so it can't be that. But could it be the Bane Deathstroke one? I mean, maybe. I mean, that's a good idea, Hosea. We don't know yet because he never officially announced that either. So we don't know how far along that one was. I mean, it could very well be that. That's the one that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. But I would say if you do check the boxes of what was publicly greenlit and might be killed, I think the most likely situation is The Authority. Because Peter Safran and James Gunn were very dismissive of that movie when they were asked about it at the press event earlier this year. And they both basically said, look, a lot of the ideas from that movie end up in Superman. So we were really trying to rework it. And that was one of the ones that was pretty much, greenlit right out the gate with that big announcement when they came into their new jobs. And alongside that, you have Swamp Thing. But, from the last time we heard from James Mangold, it doesn't look like he's got a finished script. So, yeah.
Exactly.
I guess if you wanted to make a short list, you would put Sergeant Rock on there, The Authority, Swamp Thing, maybe Bane and Deathstroke, maybe the Teen Titans movie. It just depends on how far along some of those were. We know that Sergeant Rock did have pretty much a completed script. So I guess that will check that box off. So which is the one thing where I don't know how far the Bane and Deathstroke movie was with the script. We don't know how far Teen Titans, we don't know how far The Authority, any of those, or Swamp Thing were with the script. So if you were to go off of the idea that it was greenlit, had a script, or the script wasn't ready and, he just wasn't sure about that, yeah, maybe it is that. So, but hey, James Gunn doing the perfect job of just, again, teasing us with information without giving us all the answers. I'm sure sometime down the road, he will, be asked about this on a red carpet, maybe for Superman, and he will give us a better answer to that question, maybe a Comic-Con. So we'll have to see. I mean, look, Enterprising and Frankie G, as much as anybody else wants to see a Martian Manhunter show or movie, yes. I think there's
Although
so
I will
much
say it is
interesting. Bring in.
Now, wait, hold on. Go back to the quote real quick for a sec. It's interesting how he says Supergirl script was so good off the bat, Lanterns was so good, Clayface was so good, yet you decided to get someone to rewrite it. What happened to it being so good, James? What happened to it? What happened to it being so good, James? What happened? Huh? Mike Flanagan, Life of Chuck, masterpiece. And you decided to just throw that away. I'm a man of my word. You're done. No, I'm just kidding. But it's just, you said it was great. You're getting someone to rewrite it. I just think that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, Jose, yes, the rumor or the report was the Hollywood Reporter, The Wrap, and a few of the other outlets. They said that this movie is no longer happening. It's not moving forward. Then the same day, later on in that same day, Deadline said, no, the movie is not canceled. Yeah, it's not happening right now, but they just halted pre-production. They're gonna now look to start pre-production again in summer of 2026 because they just didn't feel like they were going to be ready to start filming in the summer, and they really needed to film in the summer, I guess, because this is one of those movies that might have some, budgetary restrictions. So they needed the weather on their side. Like they can't just film any time of year and make it look like the summer. So according to Deadline, the Sergeant Rock movie wasn't completely dead. And according to a lot of the other outlets, it wasn't moving forward. So Whether it is Sergeant Rock or not, we don't know. But yeah, we could very well find out at San Diego Comic-Con if James Gunn's asked about it. It's just interesting to see that, he's talking about, yeah, we killed a movie that was greenlit. I mean, he doesn't specify it on purpose, but we will just have to wait and find out if it was Sergeant Rock or not. So, but thank you, John, for that very in your face reminder to James. Because look, again, I am kind of confused myself. If Clayface script was greenlit because of how good it was, James Gunn said it himself. He loved this script from Mike Flanagan. Why are they doing a rewrite? Especially because some rumors said it was a page 1 rewrite, which means they're kind of starting almost from scratch, which I don't believe that for 1 second, considering they greenlit the project because of how good the script was. And I don't think the director wants to just do it all over again. Yeah, exactly. That's why you greenlight. That was the big thing. Yeah. Well, John Jones, Carl Lumbly did do the voice of John Jones, and then he played the father of John Jones in the Supergirl show. I mean, I would love to see Carl Lumbly in a Green Lantern iteration in the DCU. But yeah, there will be more updates at San Diego Comic-Con. But you know what? We have a few more updates to talk about now, John. So the next thing from that Superman interview I wanted to get into is how James Gunn didn't want the Superman to be all powerful and a Superman who could punch planets. He said, I wanted Superman to be vulnerable. I see the online things about who could beat whom, Homelander or Superman or whatever, Adam Warlock or Brightburn, and I'm like, this is the stupidest conversation. Whoever would win the fight means that they're the best, because I just go out and write God-Man who can destroy you with a wink, and I win all the fights forever. So James Gunn basically saying his Superman is going to be more vulnerable. He's not going to punch planets. He's not going to be the all-powerful godlike being. I guess this Superman still is capable of clearly being that kind of a being, because he's the most powerful metahuman in this on planet Earth, at least. I mean, Lex Luthor kind of says that in the trailers. So John, where on the spectrum do you think the Superman ends up? Is he the kind of metahuman that can actually destroy planets, or is that just not the power level that Superman is going to be going for, according to James Gunn at least?
I just think that, again, what I was saying before, I love the nonchalant nature of it. And it just yes, correct. It was just so, it's just like, this versus this guy, this versus this guy. This is fucking stupid. Why are you fucking talking about this? Like, I love that, just like, why are we doing this? Why are we talking about this? Like, I could do this. Like, it's just like, why are we talking about like this versus this? Oh, it's the writer, okay? And that's exactly what he's saying. I can go out and write like God and the Beyonder. Bam, you're done. It's like,
exactly what Be Positive is saying.
Who cares? Like, it's like, oh, Goku versus Superman. Who cares? Who cares? Also, they would not fight, and they would just, Dylan, you son of a bitch, and then walk off into the sunset, because Superman wouldn't fight Goku because Goku's a good guy. Anyway, so yeah, exactly what Stanley was saying. It's like, who does the writer prefer? If it's Thor versus Superman, who wins? Whoever prefers the other. It's, if he prefers Thor, Thor is winning. If he prefers Superman, Superman's winning. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I prefer the idea that, like, we have this vulnerable Superman, because that's the thing. That was the most annoying thing about Superman, was like, oh, like, and this is the fucking thing. It's like, however, if it was the other fucking side, Chris would still be complaining, like, oh, this guy's too powerful. He's not relatable. Because, like, that's what people have been fucking saying for years. Like, oh, this guy's too strong. He's not relatable. And then, like, finally, he's like, oh, it's a very vulnerable human Superman, which is, the fucking character. And he's like, it's too weak. It's like, what the fuck do you people want? Here's an idea. I'm just gonna take this. You go into the hospital, okay? Say, hey, I need surgery, and then they take you to the ICU, the emergency room, whatever, and then they can lay you down, and then remove your pants, and then remove the gigantic fucking stick up your ass. And then maybe you won't just be battering people online like a loser. That's just my thoughts. Like, maybe just like remove the stick up your ass and like just enjoy a couple things once in a while. I understand the idea of let people enjoy things has become innately toxic. I get that, but like once in a while, just have him be like a little just enjoy life a little bit. Okay.
Look, here's what I will say: making the character somewhat vulnerable and not all powerful makes the character more relatable. You can't tell a dramatic story about a character that's all powerful that has no problems to deal with, right? Like, Superman is not perfect. He's got character flaws. He's got some flaws to, I guess, how he goes about his business. Like, clearly in the trailer, we point out the fact that he goes and intervenes in an international incident, and then people are wondering, well, isn't he an American? Like, who's out there interfering in other countries' business, and like how does that like work out with the Department of Defense and all that stuff? And it's relatable. Also, he's not all powerful. I totally understand that you don't want this Superman to be a godlike being, especially out of the gate. Like, you want to create a character that people can relate to. And yeah, maybe later on down the road, the Superman can do bigger things, greater things, and Superman's power, I'm sure, they're going to scale it up based on the movie that they're writing. Like, if they're gonna be doing a fourth world version of events where you have Darkseid coming in and stuff eventually, then this Superman needs to be able to take on that version of Darkseid and whatever. But until then, we don't need a Superman that's all powerful. I mean, and then even then, John, I mean, this Superman is gonna be fighting a freaking kaiju in the movie. This Superman is plenty powerful enough, I think. So we'll just have to wait and see just how powerful. But I like the way James Gunn thinks, and he's very accurate about his approach to the character. So moving on to the next thing, of course, we do have to talk about the Supergirl. Of course, was mentioned in the interview. So James Gunn has been asked repeatedly about the idea of, hey, you changed the name of Superman Legacy to Superman, you simplified it, and the rumors have been rampant across the internet for a long time. Are we getting Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow? So is it going to be Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow? Or is it going to be just Supergirl? And James Gunn has finally provided us some clarification, John. So here we are. He said, look, I'm sick of it. He explained why he does not like the idea of like the name that was initially given to the movie Superman Woman of Tomorrow, or Superman Legacy, as it was once known. And I liked his explanation. So, of course, as the title here says, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is dead. Long live Supergirl. So it's not just the name change, though. It's the reason why that I think is very important and very interesting, the way James Gunn describes it. So this is what he said. I'm always cutting down project titles. Legacy was really, we do something called a pre-mortem. A pre-mortem is you get together with your group that's doing the project. Is usually about a couple of months before you start shooting. One of the things that I brought up was, Superman was originally called Superman Legacy. Even though I was the one that gave it that title, James Gunn said, I just wasn't sure. First of all, I'm sick of the superhero title : other name thing. Also, it seemed to be looking back when you're looking forward, even though it does have to do with legacy in the movie itself. And everybody was like, oh yeah, no, change it. So Supergirl now has gone through a similar treatment where, they've gone from calling it Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow to simply Supergirl. And I think the biggest thing out of this that I got was this: James Gunn hates the idea of name : another name, which I personally also hate. So I really love the fact that James Gunn is on the same page with me on this, John. What are your thoughts?
Yes.
Supergirl now simply known as Supergirl instead of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
Yeah, I think here's the only thing I will talk about in regards to the one con / devil's advocate thing. The one thing I will say is the only thing. God, I feel like there we go. I feel like no matter what, I can't get it straight. Anyway, so I feel like the only reason that the only con is confusion. That's it. That's the only reason why the thing is like a little bit awkward for me personally. It's just like the confusion, because like it can get confusing sometimes. Like, for instance, like calling Scream 5 Scream, calling Halloween the newest Halloween, like Halloween 2018 just Halloween. So you have to like use like, oh, Halloween 2018 or like Ghostbusters,
which creates
remake,
confusion.
or like this.
Yeah.
which to be fair, there is confusion. However, people can get around that really quickly by calling it like Scream 2022 or Halloween 2018, like putting a year on it, or saying David Gordon Green's Halloween or Radio Silence's Scream. And like, that's fine. That's what we've been doing for Superman. Like, after it was not going to be Superman Legacy, we're calling it Superman 2025, Gunn Superman, James Gunn Superman, the new Superman, DCU Superman. There, you can like get around that. Like, it's just like, it's a little bit confusing, but in this world of like remakes and like the Naked Gun, the new Naked Gun, Liam Neeson Naked Gun, the Akira Schaefer Naked Gun. So like, whatever you can get, attach a name, attach a year, attach like the new one that's coming out. Sure, it'll be like confusion, like, oh, I'm gonna go see Naked Gun. Oh, the Leslie Nielsen movie? No, the Liam Neeson movie. Oh, okay. It's like a confusion for like 2 seconds, and then you move on. But that's like the only thing I can think of, because I 100% agree. Don't get me wrong. I will say Woman of Tomorrow, definitely a cool title. However, I don't like it either. Like, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. There has never been a Shang-Chi movie. Call it fucking Shang-Chi. Or, here's an idea. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It's a sequel. Call it Doctor Strange 2. There's never been a Doctor Strange 2. I understand, like, we've gotten Superman movies before. We've gotten Batman movies before. We've gotten many of these characters.
I mean, even then, like, 1978 Superman was called Superman the movie. This is just called Superman. So there's a difference.
They call it Superman. They call it the Christopher Reeve Superman. Like, nobody calls it that. But like, at the same time, it's like, you know, you're like Fantastic Four First Steps. Stupid fucking title. Like, it's like, I literally joked, and now my friend has been running with it ever since I made the joke. It was like, I was like, Fantastic Four First Steps. That sounds like Muppet Babies. Like, oh, First Steps. Like, first. I get why, because Franklin Richards is a baby, and you know, and it's also First Steps because it's the first Fantastic Four movie in this universe. It's also First Steps because one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. It's an astronaut thing. I get it. It has multiple meanings. However, it's still a dumb fucking title. So I will make fun of it because it's dumb. So there's so I think like it's gonna cause confusion for 2 seconds, but yeah, Supergirl. What Supergirl are you talking about? The shitty fucking 1984 movie? No, I'm talking about the new one, because nobody's talking about that shitty movie or show, the fucking god awful Melissa Benoist show. Like, nobody's talking about that shit. We're talking about this one. Okay. So I think, so it's going to cause confusion for 2 seconds, but like, I agree. That's why for a while, the Rocky franchise, until Rocky Balboa, that is, was perfect. That is how you do a title for Rocky
1, Rocky 2,
Rocky 3, Rocky 4, Rocky 5. Bam, bam, bam. That's it. That's all. You don't need a subtitle. Just enough, especially if you're dealing with characters that have not been showcased all that much, like Shazam. Well, Captain Marvel, but called Shazam. You didn't need to call it Fury of the Gods. Just call it Shazam 2. Call it Wonder Woman 2. Oh, it's not a sequel. It takes place after the first movie. It's a fucking sequel, Patty Jenkins. All right? Just call it Wonder Woman 2. All right? Stop being... I will say, Toy Story 4 and 5, they don't exist in my world, but Toy Story 1, Toy Story 2, Toy Story 3. Bam, 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 bam. Because it's not a good movie. She was okay. It has some memorable moments, but it's more of like a soap opera.
Supergirl, yeah.
But at least Aliens make sense. Like Alien, there's now more than one Alien, so they call it Aliens. Oh, it's the third Alien movie. Call it Alien 3. Yeah. So, you know, it's just like... I
agree with you.
I am a simple man. Leonard Skinner made a song about me, okay? So I think you just bring back the numbered titles. You don't need like a subtitle. You don't need these overly long titles. Just give me Supergirl, Supergirl 2, Supergirl 3, Supergirl 4. Boom, 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 boom.
Look,
boom.
here's the thing. I will say this. Okay, look, here's the thing. you guys, I don't know if you guys realize this. 90% of the time movies have those kind of titles is not because the filmmaker. It's because you have the marketing people saying, "Oh, we need to put the name of the franchise in the title in order for that to make sense." And that's really it. Because, for example, Zack Snyder famously has said, or infamously has said, that he did not like the title of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, which quite frankly is one of the worst titles of any DC movie period ever, period made, ever, period, of all time, ever, period. Like, it's one of the worst titles. I do not understand why they needed to do that.
Batman vs Superman, they just add the Dawn of Justice.
The Dawn, but like, it's stupid. I mean, him and then his
League.
Chris Terrio too. The Joker Folie do also not necessary. Like, you could have just called it Joker 2. Or like, here's the thing. Most of, like, for example, we just saw Ballerina come out from the, like, they retitled it before the release and called it From the World of John Wick: Ballerina. Or like, anytime you see anything Star Wars related, it's Star Wars : whatever, Andor or something, right? I mean, colloquially you might know it as Andor, but like officially that's the title. Or The Mandalorian, for example, works really well because we know it's from the world of Star Wars. So yeah, and to be honest, I think having that kind of control, like, James Gunn is the head of the studio, and he can say that, you know, and it's subjective. Like, I'm sure, like, I mean, Kevin Feige obviously doesn't care, like, think the same way, and this is one place where James Gunn and Kevin Feige diverge, because you look at most MCU movies, outside of a few of them, like, you know, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, like Captain America, each of the movies had a, you know, a colon, you know, First Avenger, Winter Soldier, Civil War. You've seen that with, you know, Doctor Strange, you mentioned, John. Even Shang-Chi, like you said, didn't need it, but they put a whole colon thing at the end of it. Spider-Man has had that, like Spider-Man 1, 2, 3 with Sam Raimi. Ever since then, they've always had that colon subtitle. So, I mean, Kevin Feige clearly doesn't think the same. This is one place where the two guys diverge in their thinking. And you look at James Gunn's Guardians movies, Guardians of the Galaxy, well, then Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Volume 3. So yeah, I'm okay with this. Like, you don't need to call it Woman of Tomorrow, but especially because it's not a direct adaptation. It is inspired by the Woman of Tomorrow, so you don't need to call it that anyway, unless they were literally directly adapting Woman of Tomorrow page for page, word for word. I'm okay with the movie being called Supergirl instead of being called Supergirl: Woman of Tomorrow. It simplifies it. It makes it more definitive. It makes it sound more epic, I think. Like one of you guys were saying in the chat, if you call it Superman, Supergirl, Wonder Woman, Batman. They could also, because remember when they announced it, John, Batman, they didn't announce it Batman the Brave and the Bold. They just called it the Brave and the Bold. I'm okay with that as a title. That's why I love the title of Man of Steel. The Man of Steel, simple as that. That's why I didn't like Batman Begins, and you could tell that was not a title Christopher Nolan wanted. That was a title that the studio wanted, and at the time Christopher Nolan did not have the sway to get his own title. But by the time he got to the Dark Knight,
what he would have named it.
You know, like he did. He got the Dark Knight Rises. Like, I'm sure he would have done something like The Batman, and then Matt Reeves would have had to call his movie something else. So I'm pretty sure that's maybe what he would have gone, unless he wanted to stick with something like the Dark Knight. But honestly, I don't even think he came across the whole Dark Knight name nomenclature or thought about it as a name until he was writing the sequel. So who knows? But yeah, just call it The Brave and the Bold. That's how they advertise it. If you look at all the marketing material from that announcement that they did initially, they didn't call it Batman the Brave and the Bold. That graphic just said Brave and the Bold. So guys, let us know in the comments down below. What do you think about the Supergirl title change? It's confirmed now. It's no longer going to be called Supergirl: Woman of Tomorrow. James Gunn says it is now officially simply known as Supergirl. Comes out in summer of 2026, which is not that far away now. But hey, with Superman on the horizon, do you guys agree that the same kind of title, the nomenclature should be similar for Supergirl? No longer called Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, just Supergirl. Let us know in the comments down below. But right now, John, we have to move on to the next thing that James Gunn talked about, of the many things he talked about in that Rolling Stone interview, which is, of course, the two biggest priorities over at DC Studios right now for James Gunn are, in his own words, the new Batman and the new Wonder Woman scripts. So are you surprised that these are the two biggest priorities, considering these are the only two of the four pillars that David Zaslav mentioned, which we don't have any, you know, significant solidified updates on regarding when we're going to get the movie, even though they've already announced the Batman movie, and James Gunn recently confirmed the Wonder Woman movie. We have a Supergirl movie coming out next year, a Superman movie coming out in weeks from now, but what about Batman and Superman? Are you surprised these are the two biggest priorities over at DC Studios?
No, I mean they announced the pillars. We have two of the pillars. Now we're just gonna get the other two pillars. So yeah, I think probably just, which I will say that's the only thing that kind of sucks. Again, the confusion, because it's like Wonder Woman like just came out like 10 years ago. So like, all right, that's a little bit confusing. Is like, because at least with Superman that came out in 78, Supergirl that came out in 84, that's gonna be a little bit more confusing. So maybe they'll be like the Last Amazonian or something. I don't know, but like something that's like Brave and the Bold, where it's like not exactly Wonder Woman, but it's something else. So
Yeah. Well, as far as the priorities, right? So let's break it down a little bit further. Talking about Batman, James Gunn said Batman is his biggest issue in DC right now. I'm not writing Batman, James Gunn said, but I am working with the writer of Batman and trying to get it right because he's incredibly important to DC. I mean, it's a lot of like, duh, like, but like, John, what do you think? The James Gunn is finally prioritizing Batman. Obviously, he's been busy, so it's not like he's been sitting on his butt not doing anything. But are you glad that he is working directly with the writer of Batman and trying to get this across the line, hopefully soon?
yeah, I think so. I think this is definitely a I think this is great. I mean, I would love to know who the writer is. Hopefully it's not terrible, like, because if it's Tom King, I'm never watching this movie. If it is, I'm not watching the movie. I'm not fucking watching the movie. Like, I can't. Like, this dude made a run that is considered by many to be one of the worst runs of Batman in the main continuity. So, like, oof, let's not do that. So, that would be fun. I just give me blue and gray suit. That's all I want. I just want the blue and gray suit.
Hi, Simon Manuel, by the way. And you know what?
Like, I don't want like dark blue. Give me like light blue, like sky blue.
I would love to see what they're doing currently in the comics, like the blue and black one. Like, I really like that design. I would love to see that in live action if they could bring it in. I think that could work really well in live action too. As far as struggling to integrate Batman, this universe doesn't even have a Superman yet until the movie comes out. I'm sure integrating him into the universe won't be a problem, especially when you already have an example of that with what Zack Snyder did and many examples in animation, so as well as what we have seen in like the TV version. So yeah, and Batman is one of James Gunn's, if not the favorite character that he's got over at DC, so I'm sure he cares a lot about it. Some of the other updates he provided for the Batman of the DCU was he's not interested in a funny campy Batman. So there you go, John. Forget about that happening anytime soon. He has to have a reason to exist in the DCU, which makes sense. Duh. I mean, he already kind of does from the Future Commandos episode that we got. And then James Gunn also said that he knows what he wants, and he's working with the writer to make it happen. So he's got a very specific vision. He doesn't say anything about the director here, Andy Muschietti, potentially, but he does say that he is working on the script, almost like in a TV show format, where he's going to dictate a lot of what the script is going to be with the writer, and then the director just going to comes in to direct it. How do you feel about overall James Gunn's thoughts on Batman so far?
I think it's been good. I mean, he has said many times he loves the character and loves the show, and loves like doing with that. Like, I mean, we did talk about it. He was offered. Okay, like, I can hate things. Like, how does that make me a fucking hypocrite? Like, God, this fucking guy, I swear to God. But like, I just think that he's a very I think he's just
I see what you mean, Watcher. Yeah. Although he does have a very specific perspective on that too. I think he's an older Batman with
I think so.
Sorry, go
I
ahead,
think
John.
I think I don't know. I just think like he's kind of like battering off ideas like back and forth and just like, oh hey, this can work. So I just want to know who the writer is. That's the thing I'm mainly curious about. Again, I know he addressed this in the article, but the man needs sleep, because someone asked him in the article, like, hey, how are you doing? Like, he's like, I'm good. Like, if I didn't want to do this anymore, I'd go raise goats. Like, if I didn't want to be surrounded by this, if I didn't want to keep doing projects, I would do that. So yeah.
Wouldn't we all love that, Frankie? Wouldn't we all love that?
Yeah, apparently so. But yeah,
I mean, Tom King is also very busy already, with Lanterns being one of the things he's got on his plate. The new animated Mr. Miracle TV series and all the comic book stuff he does. I don't think he'll be interested
Lanterns
in
as well. Although that's more executive producer. I don't know if he wrote it.
But he's in the writer's room, so I'm sure he was part of the process. Yeah.
But yeah, I think this would be
Facts.
I think that would I think he has a good idea of where he wants it to go. I mean, again, he wants to like make sure it's right because like again, pillar of DC, he's this huge character. So yeah, I think more silhouette.
Well, I mean, hey Chris, look, we have a bias for Superman in the sense right now that we are we're talking about Superman, the movie's coming out soon. So everything that we talk about is in the context of that. This whole James Gunn interview was in the context of the new Superman movie coming out. They wouldn't just be randomly interviewing him. So despite the fact that of course he's one of the big people of note in the world of Hollywood today. So yeah, as far as this iteration, this version of Batman that James Gunn has got, a writer working on and what he wants to see, I'm okay with not getting a funny, campy Batman. I'm okay.
It changes every other week, Jose. It changes every
Ben
other week.
Affleck literally flip flops like every other day. Yeah, like Henry Cavill should play Jor-El. Yes, Ben Affleck playing Thomas Wayne would be very meta, but I don't think that's what James Gunn would want to do to invite more controversy. But I do like the philosophy. He doesn't really give away a lot. I mean, okay, he has a reason to exist in the DCU. Every freaking character needs a reason to exist. Duh. Not funny, campy Batman. Okay, understand. We kind of knew that's what they were gonna go with anyway. And he knows what he wants, and he has a writer he's working with to make it happen. Okay, great. The only new news here is that he's got a big priority to make this Batman movie work. I just want to know if Andy Muschietti is gonna direct it or not. But as far as the Wonder Woman update, John, here's a few other details. A script is being written. We knew that. He mentioned that before. It's incredibly important to DC. Yes, we know that too. But he did say that it's easier to figure out than Batman because there haven't been as many films, which is understandable. There's only been 2 and only 1 iteration with Gal Gadot. So I guess he has more options to play with.
Well, unless you count the TV movies with Linda Carter and Kathy Lee Crosby, but
theatrically speaking, like there's only anyway. What do you think, John? What about the Wonder Woman movie? Do you think, based on the fact that it's easier to figure out, do you think they get that across the finish line sooner than even the Batman Brave and the Bold movie?
I agree with that. I mean, it's less pressure because you only have to live up to one great movie because God knows nobody likes Wonder Woman 84. So I think I think that makes sense, and I agree. I just hope again they're working. Jesus fucking Christ. It's yeah. I just think I think that makes sense. I think that makes perfect sense, and I agree with him.
Yeah, me too. I want to see a Wonder Woman movie. Look, we're still reeling from the fact that there is a Wonder Woman movie in development. Like for the longest time, it was as Paradise Lost. That's all we got. And then a week ago, he said, "Yeah, we are writing a movie for Wonder Woman," and it's a big pillar that David Zaslav obviously talked about. So I am glad they're doing that. I personally wouldn't even mind seeing Gal Gadot come back for the role. But you know what, John? Speaking of Batman, of course, James Gunn had to address the Batman franchise.
He's not co-writing. Sorry, just want to mention, Steve Ortega, he's not co-writing Batman. He's just working with the writer, kind of like bouncing ideas off of him and like where to go with the story. He's not really co-writing it though.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then I guess Patrick was addressing something that Chris said as opposed to making a statement earlier. So there you go. Kal-El, no. Okay. Yeah. Well, Gal Gadot, look, again, I will tell you till the sun goes down, depending on if the sun is up where you are, that Gal Gadot did as best as she could with that line of Kal-El, no. I don't think any actress could have done any better. But anyway, point being, the Batman 2 is also a project that James Gunn just addressed in that interview with the Rolling Stones, saying, look, it's not canceled. We don't have a script. Matt's slow. Let him take his time. Let him do what he's doing. God, people are mean. Let him do his thing, man. I mean, look, James Gunn was pretty relaxed during this interview. I feel like this whole time he was in that pose from like when he's lying down on the couch. I feel like the whole interview was just a therapy session, and James Gunn was like doing... But where's the pose? Let me get back to that. This one. This is literally how he did the whole interview. He's like, God, man, people are mean. It's just let him do his thing. Matt's slow. It's like, because that's the tone. And I do love the tone in which he's saying all of these things, John. But again, slow is one thing, but like 5 years? Like, come on. Like, most people can do it in that much time. I still don't think like that's a good reason. I'm like, give us more. Like, why is he so slow? What is going on? Is he really just still trying to figure out the story? Like, come on, man. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I get it. As someone who is currently suffering from writer's block, I understand 100%. I get it. But, like, you're also, this is a big project. This is like a once in a lifetime thing. And it's like, I'm going to go as slow as molasses. And you're not going to make that 2027 like that. This shit's going to get delayed again. I'm telling you, this is going to get delayed until like 2028. And it's like we're still waiting on a rough draft. It's not even like a draft 1, draft 2, draft 3. It is a rough draft. Rough drafts never get made into movies because they suck. Rough drafts suck. So like, it's amazing. So it's just like come on, like I respect the fact he wants to stand by him. He's saying like this is not canceled. It's not canceled. So it's just like, but the thing is, we're just waiting. Like at this point, just make it an animated movie. I would say make it an animated movie so that Robert Pattinson doesn't look like he has like crow's feet as like how old is he supposed to be in the first movie? Like 27,
Probably
25?
Yeah.
And like, it's just like bro has like wrinkles and crow's feet. Bro's like suffering from erectile dysfunction because like he's too fucking old to do anything now. So it's like, guys, come on.
I mean, Robert Pattinson has joked about it himself. He's like, I'm turning like 40. I'm playing a young Batman in the when he was promoting Mickey 17. And so everybody's aware of that. I mean, he does look younger than he is. So I don't think it would be a problem having him. But it just, to me, like we were thinking this would be a whole sprawling franchise. I feel like at this point, we might barely just get 2 movies, if not maybe. Can they even complete a trilogy, especially considering the events of the second movie are meant to take place just weeks, months after the first film. So that's the thing that worries me the most. Like if it's not a problem if they just skip ahead a few years and he's older and he looks a bit older. I mean, they did that in The Dark Knight Rises. You have an older Bruce Wayne 8 years removed from the events of The Dark Knight. So they can pull that off. It's just though I hope Matt Reeves is adjusting for that in the script, unless they feel like they can still pull it off. I mean, yeah, it's just interesting to see again. Yeah, he's slow. We get it. We know that. And we just want to hold him accountable because people, and the fact that people are as anxious means that they want the movie. That's the reason why people are saying that. It's not because
I understand. Like, obviously, don't give the man like death threats and shit like that. That's mean. That's terrible.
We're not advocating for that at all. Yeah.
No. We're not saying that. It's just like, bro, you're fucking writing and directing. You wrote and directed a Batman movie. That's like once in a billion chance. Now you get to be part of that sequel, and like you're not, I feel like because the vibe I'm getting is not just like a guy who's like, oh, hi, I'm an artsy man, I'm taking this slow, but it's like, no, it's just a guy who's not taking it seriously, kind of like Andy Muschietti a little bit, who's like, yeah, I'm gonna do another fucking movie in the meantime. James Mangold, I'm gonna do like a shitty Star Wars movie that'll probably never see the light of day in the meantime. So it's like, guys, you're getting once in a billion chance to work on these, mainly Andy Muschietti over James Mangold, because like Star Wars, I don't personally like it, but Star Wars, that's also a 1 in a billion chance. Like, I understand that too. But like Andy Muschietti is like, yeah, I'll do like a original sci-fi movie. You can do an original sci-fi movie after working on the biggest superhero of all time. So it's like, it's just like, if you don't care, why should I? If you don't care, why should I? That's the vibe I'm getting.
Look, I don't even think it's a matter of he doesn't care. Like, we've had these rumors and reports that he's been turning in pages and the first script is not there yet, but he's meant to. We thought it was going to be on Memorial Day weekend that he was going to have submitted it. It looks like, based on recent comments from James Gunn and such, unless all of these interviews were done, months ago, I just don't know if the script is even in yet, or like it's the thing about it. We haven't even gone to a first complete draft. I mean, James Gunn will have notes, and then you probably need to do multiple rounds. It's just, yeah, he's slow. Let him take his time. Let him do his what he's doing. We understand that. Nobody is here saying like, yeah, it's gonna take time. But I feel like James Gunn has such a nonchalant attitude, almost because he's like, look, this thing is just gonna do its own like timeline on the side. It's not part of the bigger universe. As long as it's good, it's fine. If it flops, they will cancel it. So it does, to me, reek a little bit of James Gunn is like, if it's good, great, I'll take credit for my part in it. If not, then we'll just cancel it. Like, for all we know, like, James Gunn gets the script and says this is not good enough, like he said to Patty Jenkins with the Wonder Woman 3 script. So It could be that. And if the Brave and the Bold comes out and really blows people away, and this thing is still in the script stages, which I doubt it will be at that point. But yeah, I don't know. And to answer what Steven Ortega was saying earlier, Matt Reeves did take like 3 to 4 years between each movie. But again, I mean, 2022 is when the movie came out. They greenlit the sequel right around then. Matt Reeves has said from that point forward, he kind of knew what the sequel was going to be right then and there, which is something that informed the events of the Penguin. And he's talked about like he's had a very specific idea, and then he's already got a universe planned out. So for him to like be stuck in a writer's block, I'm like, if you've got the overall big picture, what are you trying to figure out? The dialogue? Like seriously, there's easier ways to go about this. And whether it's Mr. Freeze or anybody else that we see in the next movie, I just hope they make their October 2027 release date, because at this point, if they don't have this movie ready by October 2027, it was originally supposed to come out this year. Then they moved it to 2026. Then they moved it to 2027. That's already like 2-3 release dates that they've gone through. So I, for one, I think as far as from a production standpoint, John, I think the next update we should get from this should be before the end of the year that this movie is about to go into production. And if it doesn't go into production by early next year, I think that's when we start to realize maybe just one movie with Robert Pattinson was all we're going to get. And I mean, Colin Farrell hasn't been very confident on his front regarding Penguin 2, and I don't blame him on that. Maybe he's just going to move on with the Sergeant Rock movie. So we'll have to wait and see. But John, you know what? He also addressed James Gunn. That is, he addressed the idea once again, will Robert Pattinson's Batman be joining the DCU? And clearly he gets asked about it a lot. So he was asked about it here. And he said, look, I really should clear this up. I would never say 0 because you just never know, but it's not likely at all that the Robert Pattinson version of the Batman joins the DCU. And it's so he's saying there's a non-zero chance, John. Does that mean that James Gunn is just holding out hope ever so slightly that he may yet fold the Batman into the larger DCU? Or does this mean we're kind of like done for? Like, what are your thoughts?
I don't think it's gonna be canceled yet, at least as of like June, whenever June 16th, when this was posted. It's not canceled, but it could be canceled tomorrow. It could be canceled the next day. So sure, it's not canceled for now, but like, how long is for now gonna be? Because as the days go by, I can't see this getting delayed again.
Right.
And then it getting canceled.
But I mean, do you think that he's saying can he, look, here's the thing. He's like, I really should clear this up. But then he still, when it goes on to say, look, you just never know. I would never say 0. So he's still giving it a non-zero chance that the Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, but it could be a 1% chance. And well, although according to Ben Affleck, that's an absolute certainty.
I knew you were gonna go there. Again, not the point of the quote, but I you know what, a good plug right now. So yeah. Yeah. I don't think as long as Matt Reeves is allowed to, take charge of that version of Batman, that he would ever let it be part of the DCU. But then again, if James Gunn says we're done, Matt Reeves, you can, take your ball and go home. Maybe then James Gunn says, why not just bring in Robert Pattinson? He's already 40. He could pass off as being the father of, I guess, a teenage.
Just don't give him like a weird robotic armored suit or whatever the fuck they gave him in the Batman. I agree with that though.
Anyway, well, hey guys, it looks like James Gunn continuing to say, look, there's a non-zero chance, but it's still very unlikely that we're gonna get the Batman in the DCU. But hey, take that as an absolute certainty, as Caleb just said. And with that, we're gonna move on because we still have a couple of smaller things to get into, John. So one of the things that James Gunn was asked about was, of course, a Marvel and DC crossover, or a DC Marvel crossover, depending on which side of the fence you sit on. And John, you've talked about this before. We've talked about it many a times. James Gunn did address it in this Rolling Stones interview, saying that yes, a Marvel DC crossover movie could happen. I mean, we've talked about how it's more likely than ever because James Gunn and Kevin Feige are the best of friends. So James Gunn mentioned in this interview saying we have talked about it a billion times. Just having Spider-Man and Superman team up is gonna do it if it's shit. It isn't gonna do it if it's shit. So it's gotta come from a real place, and it's really hard to make that work. So James Gunn's saying it's gonna be a creative challenge. You can't just do it just for the sake of doing it. You really need to make it work somehow. So he's saying, look, he's not pointing out the business realities of it, of like how would that work. He's just saying, look, in a world where Spider-Man is owned by Sony and is part of the MCU, and yet they have Spider-Man franchise movies over at Sony that are separate. It is possible now that Marvel and DC can cross over. It's just a matter of how do they make it work, John? So my question to you would be, how would you make it work if you were James Gunn?
Specifically a Marvel DC crossover? Oh, don't ask me that. I don't know. Like, I feel like, honestly, the best thing, I know it was terrible at the time, but like, honestly, I would love to see them team up, but then the first thing they do is just do the amalgam universe. Like, just like immediately, like the shit gets combined. They have to like work out the differences in like maybe like one movie or like a show, like a 2-part movie, one by DC, one by Marvel. And
kind of like what they're doing with the Batman Deadpool crossover, like the comics.
Yeah. So like do that, and then bam, like it's just like this epic 2-part saga or duology, whatever you want to call it. And it's just like this epic thing of like, oh, these combined characters, and then I think that would be cool. Like, it's just like, don't have like, oh, Marvel and DC, like, oh, it's like Superman versus Spider-Man, Batman versus the Hulk. Like, it's just boring. Like again, because he was just talking about like, oh, don't do fucking like versus stuff. What are we talking about here? That's stupid. So I just think that's boring. But like a team up movie could be fun, but I don't think like either company really wants to do that properly. But as James Gunn said, we would only do it if it works, and I don't think you would ever make that work. So I would say just leave it alone.
Look, I think it's possible, but it also has to come from a place where like the two universes right now are just not compatible, in the sense that DC is just starting up a new cinematic universe, and the MCU is also at a point where they need to kind of get their ducks in a row. So I don't think this is the time to do that crossover. If it were to happen, you're looking at probably it's still a few years away, and it would have to be at a point where they can find maybe some kind of multiversal crossover situation, or some kind of like a little, almost like a little side adventure that's away from the main continuities of the two universes. So or if they do it as a standalone, even then you'd have to look at it in a situation where like the characters are put in a very different context, like in ancient times Thor, Wonder Woman movie. So I would love to see it. I think it's more possible than ever with Kevin Feige and James Gunn being in charge of Marvel and DC respectively. So I would love to see it. James Gunn clearly has talked about it multiple times. I mean, I'm sure Kevin Feige also would love to see that. They're fans of each other's characters. I think James Gunn obviously loves a lot of Marvel characters. He loves DC. Kevin Feige has, always said that he's loved Superman and a lot of the characters that DC has. Of course, he's done just about anything anybody could ever possibly want to do with Marvel. So I totally understand. I think it's kind of common sense that from a storytelling perspective, you'd want to make it work. You can't just make it like a video game, like a DC versus Marvel, and like, you pick your characters and say fight, and then, fatality, or I don't know, whatever. Like it can't be just a Street Fighter video game. But as far as how we put it together, the logistics of it, I think what would be even more interesting and harder to pull off is the business side of it. Like, how do you split the revenues? I feel like that's where the Sony Marvel deal is very important, because it makes it more possible than ever before, from a business structural standpoint, that there's a precedent now.
Yeah, I think that would be cool too, an animation crossover, definitely.
I mean, Swamp Bat, thank you, and hello to you in the chat, by the way. If you're new, hit the like button and hit subscribe. We're doing this 5 days a week. But no, you have a really good point. It could just be animated, and maybe you start there, because even that would be crazy. I mean, I wouldn't even mind if they did a theatrical animated movie, like a Snyderverse level quality, just do it DC versus Marvel. I don't know if Warner Brothers Discovery would sell DC. I think if Warner Brothers Discovery, like the unit that David Zaslav is going to own after the split, if they do sell, they're not going to sell DC as its own property, because the whole portfolio is what derives the value of the company. So if Warner Brothers were to be acquired or join up with the Sony, it still would be hard for them to cross over Spider-Man with DC, because it's one of those things where I think Marvel, as the ultimate rights holder, the creator, still
Hell
has some
yeah.
sway on it. Thank you, man. Thank you for subscribing, Swamp Bat. But Marvel versus Capcom is interesting. I think video games wise, they can do collaborations. They're already
Well, if they
collaborating
just
in the comic
stop
books
canceling
world.
shit for no reason.
Yeah. Yep. But as far as doing a live action crossover, I still think we're a ways away, because there's so much going on in both cinematic universes, and so much that is quite frankly divergent from each other. So with the new universe being kicked off over at DC, and Marvel sort of kind of going in a very new direction after Secret Wars, I just don't know. Maybe there's a possibility that James Gunn's new Superman, like David Cornsweet, shows up in Avengers Secret Wars. Wouldn't that literally blow the roof off the place if that happened in a movie theater near you when we go to see that film in a couple of years? But I mean, Caleb, with the Watcher saying we are overthinking it a little bit. You know, we maybe are, but that's kind of the reason why we're here. So, all right, John. Now, that's not the last thing that we have to talk about today, because the last thing, the last thing is significant because, well, Lex, is usually on the show and in the live chat, and she's been pitching the idea that there is more than one suit in this new Superman movie. Well, James Gunn finally addressed that, and while he didn't quite say that there were multiple suits or will be multiple suits in this Superman movie that's coming up, he did say that Superman will get a new suit in the sequel. So, are you surprised by that? Because he just simply replied yes when he was asked on Threads. I guess this is not part of the interview, so I apologize. That's my mistake. But he was asked on Threads, "Hey, will there be multiple costumes for Superman across the various films you plan to do? And will there be a new suit in the sequel?" He just simply replied, "Yes." So, John, what exactly does that mean? It's just one word. It's sort of one of those things where you give him 5 options and he says yes, or is he specifically saying that the sequel will have a new suit?
I mean, I think it's like it's, to be fair, it is a bit of a toy thing. So I think we got to introduce.
Yeah, you got to make new merchandise. Yeah.
I mean, look at the Spider-Man movies, the Marvel ones. They have to introduce 2 or 3, sometimes even 4 suits in one movie just to fucking sell toys, which is hilarious to me. But it's how it be. Whoa, be positive. Being horny there. Okay. You gotta go to Wood Rocket for that one. But
I'm sure you'll find plenty examples there.
I think it's just like the cape, the collar, and the lines I hate. Like, I hate that. Like, I will swallow it for the time being because I like the cape, I like the material for the most part, and I like the crest, I like the trunks, the belt, the boots, the colors. Everything else is great. It's just I hate the collar, I hate the lines, and I hate how the cape is positioned. But I mean, I all I do is glaze this movie. Apparently, I don't give any criticisms. I just hate those things because it's just like I hate the overly designed lines. They look terrible. I just think the cape placement looks awkward, and I never liked the look of the collar because I will say it looks admittedly better than the new 52 one, which looks very militaristic, which I really don't like. Because I don't think Superman should be a militaristic character. But it just looks like weird to me here. And I don't like that. I mean, I don't like Lex Luthor being the villain, and I don't like some of the CGI, but again, I just glazed this movie. So I think I just want some of the, I just want that classic look. I like the cape being tucked into the like neckline collar. I like how no collar, just like sort of like the blanket sort of like, just like you see the neck and a little bit of the shoulders, that kind of thing. And I don't mind the form fitting. I don't mind that. I think I don't. The
trunks are growing on me. Yeah.
I agree with James. I don't like the muscles though. I don't like the muscles. So that's keep the trunks obviously. I just think that there's some design choices that could be better with a sequel. So.
Yeah, upper back and traps. Well, I mean,
I don't
he's
even know
got
what
the
that
cape
means.
on. He's got the cape on. Like that's probably why you can't see it. You know, the new suit is growing on me. It looks a little wonky in some places, but again, this is a still. You're gonna see this in action. It's gonna pass you by in a moment. Notice. So tell this to Martha. She's who made this suit. Yeah. It's his mother's name. I'm just kidding. But you know, I don't know if Martha made the suit. Maybe this is indeed. If is this maybe this suit is actually Kryptonian. Who knows? Eddie Guerrero size super mullet. Oh, you know what? That would be nice. That would be
Yeah.
nice because I
Like
don't know
how
if
we
it's gonna
saw Henry Cavill at the end of Argyle. That's what we wanted to see. That's what we wanted.
that would be
He's nothing
so
without
rad.
it.
Oh god, yeah.
And I will say, I don't care what anybody says. You could say like, "Oh, the black suit's comic accurate." Yeah, the problem with that is the black suit literally fucking meant nothing in the goddamn movie. So
You're talking about the Snyder cut, not Superman.
the Snyder
and Lois.
cut, like the Snyder cut, because like literally, he fucking came back from a nuke. Do you think this motherfucker really needs a black suit to absorb sun rays? Like, come on.
Yeah, the logic behind that wasn't
Bullshit.
entirely.
The only
there, so I
reason
think
Snyder
that
put in
was,
there
yeah.
look cool. That's literally it. I will die on that hill. I don't care what anybody says.
No, I agree. Look, again, it's still. Here's
Wait,
what
go
I'll
back
say.
to that previous one, Dan. No, the one with the. Look at how weak Superman looks here. He's so weak looking. Oh my god, look at this loser here. He's so weak, punching out this guy, literally punching his teeth out. So fucking weak, am I right?
Yeah, there's a lot of different suits over the years that are
Agreed.
pretty iconic.
That
I
suit
still-
and the
I
Fleischer
love-
suit from Superman and Lois, perfect.
Mhm.
Best suits we've ever gotten. Ironically, both from TV. Just saying.
I will still say the Zack Snyder iteration, look, he did it because that's his prerogative. As a filmmaker, you get to make that choice, right? So I will allow that, but at the same time, like I understand that you're saying like it wasn't necessarily maximizing, you know, the comic book iteration or reasoning, which again, these are adaptations, so you don't need to follow the same reasoning behind the comics to do what you want to do in live action. I'm sure James Gunn will, you know, veer away from comic book reasoning for some of the, you know, things that the characters do in the movie. But as far as the suit goes, I'm liking the new suit more and more. Some of these flying sequences, not so much.
He says
but,
hesitantly.
yeah. But you know, the suit is growing on me. The suit is growing on me.
Agreed, Caleb. Agreed.
Sorry, there you go. You send the black guy through a couple of brick walls and BBS punching out teeth, bad soups, lol. Okay, you know what? You guys keep bringing that up. I think without context, because that movie has so many layers to it. Let's lay off. But yes, Argyle haircut. Dang, you just saw that for the first time? Yeah, man. Well, I'd love to see that. I would love to see the Argyle haircut, David Cornsweat. That would be amazing. Maybe we get a Henry Cavill alternate universe Superman, and that's the haircut he comes in with. Like, you know, kind of like somewhere between
Nick
Cage
that's,
version. And
I mean, that's the guy. Everyone's saying that the guy lasering, you know, Superman in the movie is actually Henry Cavill playing Hell. So, like, you know.
Well, yeah, there's that too. Well, we'll find out. We'll find out in a few weeks' time. Well, guys, this week the big Superman World Tour begins, so they're going to be in Manila, and they're going to be jetting off all over the world after that. We're going to be following that, of course. A lot of you guys who are new here, just letting you know, we're here 5 days a week. Usually we don't do an almost 4-hour show. We try to keep it under 2 hours. We're going to try to get back to that tomorrow. But this Monday, as always, it's been a busy day. So we'll be back tomorrow to get through a lot more. That James Gunn interview was significant. There's a lot of updates we went through. If you guys are just watching or joined in late, then hey, just be kind and rewind. And if you started to watch from the very beginning, we thank you so much for doing that. John, as always, it's been a pleasure. And tomorrow we'll get back at it. We'll have more Superman news, more news from the world of Hollywood. Until then, guys,
a shorter show.
Hopefully a shorter show. But until then, guys, as always, thank you so much for stopping by. Hit the like button on the way out, as John is telling you to do. If you are new and you haven't yet, hit subscribe and hit the notification bell when you're at it, because that way, when we go live. We usually are live later in the day on the East Coast or wherever you are watching us. Thank you again for being part of the fam. We appreciate you. And yeah, we will get back into it. Apparently, there's a rumor that Enterprising is saying they're showing a 30 minute cut of the film somewhere. We'll talk about that. We'll get into it. Liz sent me some stuff about there's a real life metropolis in Illinois, and they had a Superman weekend. So we'll have pictures for you from that tomorrow. Until then, John, we'll see you next time on another episode of DCU Daily.